Change 26. These small animals are the most sensitive to earthquakes. Then, there was a loud bang. Crash. In the forest, it began to rain stones again. It's human. Chen Mo changed the perspective and switched to the mushroom on the top of the mountain. Below, another hill was flattened. Humanity is building rapidly. In order to catch up with the progress, they used a lot of explosives and large machinery. Now, a particularly large square has been leveled out below, more than twice the size of what Chen Mo saw a few days ago, and it is still expanding. The first leveled area has already started to pour cement. The speed is so fast that the construction of laboratories and airport buildings has already begun. From a distance, Chen Mo has already seen the troops moving in. This place is about to become an observation base, used to observe the changes inside the forest, and at the same time collect various samples that are difficult to obtain from the outside world. This is not Chen Mo's guess, but definite intelligence. Information obtained from Lu Ru. Now, Lu Ru has become famous because of that paper. The word psychic power, along with her thesis, spread to the whole world. People all over the world were shocked by her bold theory. What caused the mutation turned out to be a mysterious energy. All scientists began to verify. The results showed that what Professor Lu said was true. All the big names in science congratulated Professor Lu. She was the first discoverer of psychic powers. According to the usual practice, Professor Lu has the right to name forever. This energy is named psychic energy by Professor Lu. The news spread all over the world. All of a sudden, various studies on psionic energy emerged. As Professor Lu is well known to everyone, when she was dreaming, she had a flash of inspiration and discovered the experience of psychic power, which everyone talked about. Became a legend. It's like Mendeleev was inspired by a dream and discovered the law of the periodicity of elements. I believe that in the near future, Professor Lu's story will also be included in textbooks. Some leaders met Professor Lu and praised him so much. Throughout the day, Professor Lu was interviewed, held meetings, and presented awards everywhere. At night, when she returned to the laboratory, she felt that all this was like a dream. She is so famous, also regarded as a leading expert in the study of world mutations. I'm not good enough. She couldn't help but smiled wryly and shook her head. At the same time, I feel that the burden on my body is heavier. More research must be done. Otherwise, it will be a shame if it is short-lived. I hope that your research can make some new discoveries. When the laboratory is built, I still have the opportunity to go there and see if your kind is a little different from you. Lu Ru looked at the mushroom and whispered to herself. Back in the familiar laboratory, Lu Ru felt extremely at ease. Compared to showing her face in public, she prefers to stay quietly in the laboratory and discover the mysteries of nature. Recently, for some reason, she prefers to stay in the laboratory. I always feel that staying here, my body and mind are very peaceful and comfortable, and my thinking seems to be more active. She has been studying this mushroom for a while, and the more she studies it, the more miraculous she feels. Especially since yesterday, this mushroom began to absorb a large amount of metal elements. Although its appearance has not changed, if you measure it carefully, you will find that the heavy metal content in its body has greatly exceeded the standard. In other words, this mushroom has changed from an edible fungus to a poisonous mushroom that cannot be used. However, this feature is very useful, and may be used to control pollution. And this kind of change is better for comparison. If the rest of the mushrooms in the original place have similar changes, doesn't it mean that this is not a mutation? It's a reaction with a stable effect. She muttered to herself. Lu Ru very much hoped to return to Jingyu Town as soon as possible. Thinking of this, she picked up the phone. School Lu, how is the progress of the laboratory construction over there? Professor Lu, don't worry, up to 10 days. Within 10 days, the construction of the building must be completed, and then the equipment can be transported in. Didn't it mean that the military has proposed a laboratory modification plan, and the project will be postponed? Professor Lu asked curiously. Those idiots know what the hell. Time is money, you have to seize every minute and every second. I have already negotiated with their leaders, the main building will be built first, and the fence will be built next. You can't slow down the progress of the plan just because of a wild boar. If you say this, you must not be laughed at by your peers. Let them send more people and pay attention to patrolling. Quote. Just taking advantage of the abandoned highway, this laboratory is built at the end of the highway, deep in the mountains. It is simply a perfect ecological observation station. After 10 days, you can prepare to collect samples in the past. According to our research, the concentration of psionic energy over there may be even higher. This lab is necessary, quote, Principal Liu said with certainty. After hanging up the phone, Professor Liu was also very happy, but immediately became a little worried. This project is one of many research projects in China, and a lot of resources have been allocated by it. And she is also one of the experts in charge of the biological group. It's a lot of pressure. Will someone be stationed in 10 days? Chen Mo looked at the base below, thoughtful. In my heart, I was secretly amazed that such a large project took 10 days, but only 10 days. It's really a terrifying power. When I was a human, I didn't realize it, but now I am not a human. Chen Mo suddenly became envious of this terrifying power. It can be said that human beings are the only ones on this planet who have the ability to move mountains and fill seas, species. However, this advantage may be challenged. Chen Mo muttered to himself. Of course, it's just a challenge. Of course, Chen Mo will not be the first to challenge humans. In fact, he has no intention of doing so at all. His advantage is that he understands human beings, and he already has sources of intelligence in it. With this kind of advantage, it would be a fool not to follow the low-key development route. If it works well, it can completely spread all over the world without knowing it. At that time, it was his turn to play. That's right, Chen Mo defines himself as a big late player. Super late. Now he is focusing on gaining experience everywhere and playing wild. Can't get online. As for those bloated mutant beasts, let them hit the muzzle. Just like the wild boar before, it was shot, and now it is much more honest. When it heard the explosion, it trembled and wanted to stay away from the area with humans. As night fell, Chen Mo's mushroom on the top of the mountain had spores spread out. After so many days of persistent efforts, the most important thing is that the adaptability has improved. He has some mushroom strongholds beside the ditch at the foot of the mountain, and in some ravines. But not many. The weather has been very weird these days. It rained a few days ago. It is very suitable for him to grow. But since yesterday, the sun has never been hotter. Therefore his growth has been greatly suppressed. Not to mention the mushrooms outside. Even inside the basin, one can vaguely feel the terrifying burning from the sky. Mushrooms are inherently humid and warm environments. However, the weather these days has been extremely dry. In the air, the humidity of water vapor is also decreasing. This greatly increases the difficulty of Chen Mo's survival. Too slow, affecting my diffusion speed. After a little evaluation, Chen Mo found that only 5 mushroom strongholds had been developed in one night. This is much slower than in the basin. It can't be delayed for too long, it must spread all around within 10 days. Chen Mo set a goal for himself. 10 days is neither long nor short, just before the arrival of the scientists. When they come, if they expand again, the abnormal phenomenon will easily attract the attention of these professionals. And after 10 days, the slow progress and changes are not a big problem, and ordinary people will not pay much attention to the mushrooms that emerge. They also have no scientific literacy in this area. Chen Mo can save a lot of trouble. Within 10 days, relying on spores to disperse, it's really too random. Facing the randomness of his life and the randomness of his death, Chen Mo decided to study it carefully. His eyes fell on the chief. After this period of communication, the chief's intelligence has improved again, and he can understand more meanings. However, it is still very difficult to complete such things as airdrops. Need to go through some. When Chen Mo thought this way, he became conscious. Chief. Hearing this sound, the chief immediately put down the small wooden stick, threw the irritable bug aside, then tilted his head, and looked at the largest mushroom tree in the middle. Chen Mo also named this bug, because it is always irritable and growling, so it is called, roaring. Grab this up. Mycelium rises slowly, with a small mushroom on top. The chief flew over and grabbed the mushroom with his feet. Then fly into the air. Keep flying, throw it a little farther, and throw it over the mountain. Paji. The chief understood a lost word. As soon as Chen Mo's consciousness was sent, the other party let go of his claws. All go. It's really not good if you have a small brain. The chief's ability to imitate is strong, but his ability to learn actively is not good. Chen Mo tried several times but failed. The chief couldn't comprehend consciousness that was too abstract. Chen Mo had no choice but to save the country. Miss Hess. Chen Mo called out. Miss Heisi, who was hunting far away, heard the consciousness emanating from the mushroom beside her, and she knew that the big man was calling. Immediately, he climbed up from the ambush tree, and after a few ups and downs, he disappeared into the forest. Not long after, it appeared under the largest mushroom tree. Throw this over where the rabbits came from. Miss Heisi was originally smart, but after being stimulated by psychic energy, her talent was awakened, and her intelligence itself also made greater progress. Moreover, the rabbit is very familiar to her. She picked up the mushroom and ran up the mountain, following the route the rabbits came from, bypassing the ridge, climbing over the mountain along an inclined ditch, and then turned to the other side. Miss Heisi is very familiar with this place, and she often hides on this road to attack rabbits. Okay, throw the mushrooms here. Chen Mo exudes consciousness from the small mushroom. This kind of strange thing, if human beings, would have been terrified. But Miss Heisi was not surprised at all. She was used to it, and seemed to be able to hear the voice of the big man everywhere, and the big man was everywhere. She let go of her mouth, leaving the mushroom in place. In the air, the chief who followed curiously became thoughtful. Understood. It has no other skills, but it has the ability to learn everything, and it is still very good. After a while, there was a flapping of wings in the air. Boom! A mushroom falls on the slope. The chief landed on the ground very considerately, picked up the rolling mushrooms, and put them next to the mushrooms placed by Miss Heisi, neatly. Click, click, it barked proudly. Chen Mo laughed immediately. This little guy is really funny, and he is proud of it. Does the chief understand? Come back and get the mushrooms. Chen Mo felt that it was time to proceed to the next step. As for the two mushrooms here, they were just demonstrations. Chen Mo didn't pay much attention to them, and lived as long as they could. However, the terrain here is relatively open, a piece of grass on a slope, and the conditions are relatively harsh, so it should be difficult to survive. However, what surprised Chen Mo was, not long after, Miss Heisi came back again. Also brought a rabbit. The fat big rabbit is about to catch up with Miss Heisi's size, but Miss Heisi's fangs and claws are obviously much stronger. The prey is still the prey after all. I saw that it brought the rabbit back, and the rabbit even hadn't died completely, and was still struggling. Miss Heisi stretched out her sharp claws like a dagger, cutting. In an instant, the rabbit's head came down. Immediately afterwards, pieces of rabbit meat were scattered on the ground. Like an extremely skilled and elegant hunter, Chen Mo watched, stunned. He suddenly understood what Miss Heisi was going to do. This is to nourish him. After finishing this, Miss Heisi lay on the side, looking at the two mushrooms. The tail is still shaking slightly. Rabbits can grow mushrooms, and the big ones are inside the mushrooms. The chief on the side was furious. When Miss Heisi bleeds the rabbit with her paw just now, she pointed at it. Not only was it drenched in rabbit blood, but it was also despised one after another. Suddenly, the chief quit. Angrily, it took out its own mushroom and put it aside. After a while, it also caught a worm and put it on the mushroom solemnly. He also patted it with his paw. It seems to be saying, "Eat well, grow up quickly." After going back and forth, the chief finally understood Chen Mo's consciousness. It starts grabbing mushrooms and throwing them in different directions. And it is very considerate to put the bugs aside. It was a pleasant surprise. Chen Mo did not expect that his courier was so good. As for Miss Heisi, although she is smarter, firstly she can't fly, and it is too difficult to climb mountains and mountains, secondly, she is so eye-catching that Chen Mo dare not ask her to go. The fiery red hair, and the tail is like a flame, very magical. If it is seen by humans, it will be a big trouble. Especially now that there are still humans at the foot of the mountain, it's better to stay in the mushroom forest, and it will be safer when the forest is denser and humans can't get in at all. And in the future, there will be more and more strange creatures, so it will not be so conspicuous. As for now, if it is discovered, humans will definitely come to arrest it. Even the chief, Chen Mo, made him be careful, circled around the surrounding mountains, and bypassed the human base. On the way to the base, Chen Mo also dropped a lot of mushrooms. But the mushrooms were all in vain. Because not long after, there was a roar in the sky. Boom! A plane flies low. Then, the herbicides rained down. Good guy, this is not about martial ethics at all. Just come up and spray pesticides on the plane. With this dose, the surrounding big trees died on the spot, not to mention the mushrooms with an adaptability of only 2. Chen Mo's field of vision gradually dimmed, and the map that he finally opened became dark again. Human beings seemed to have made up their minds to maintain this channel. Every day that followed, people came to remove vegetation from the road, and not only that, but they also began to build fences to prevent animals from running onto the road. Because of the changes in the world, humans don't care whether they pollute the environment or not. The herbicides they put in are all very powerful and have a strong residue. Even the trees that are farther away have begun to rot and die slowly. Trees are also alive. Chen Mo, as a strange life form, has a strong consciousness, which makes him feel more deeply. Every time he flies through the air, Chen Mo can feel the wailing from the forests on both sides. Of course, Chen Mo will not think that he is more righteous, he has done a lot of burning, killing and looting. It's just that I have a new understanding of the competition of all things and the cruel natural evolution. A powerful species can do whatever it wants. This is the way of evolution. The weak can only wail, and even the wailing cannot be heard by the other party. It's embarrassingly weak. Fortunately, I have an evolutionary system. I have a choice. Unlike these trees, I can only watch myself die. Chen Mo thought in his heart. Click. Looking at the giant steel beast passing by in the air, the chief exuded fear and then clicked a few words angrily. Okay, let's continue. Chen Mo exudes meaning. Since mushrooms cannot be planted on the side of the road, it is better to grow them on the mountains on both sides. Forget about the surroundings of the human base. It's not fun if there is an accident with the thing. I will blow it by myself when the time comes. Go around to the other end of the lab. The chief is a woodpecker, he can't fly high, and he doesn't like to fly long distances. He habitually likes to find a place to rest. He was about to land on a tree that could be seen by the base. Be careful, you can't land here. Chen Mo suddenly exudes a sense of danger. Immediately, the chief flapped his wings and swept into the woods beside him. Boom! A shot rang out, snapped. The trunk on which the chief was about to land just now exploded on the spot. Grass! Chen Mo let out angrily. Fortunately, he is more vigilant. No human urine. He was already very vigilant and did not underestimate human beings, but he never expected that they were almost hit by such a distance. If it really landed just now, the chief would be gone immediately. Although it was just a woodpecker, Chen Mo was very angry for some reason. Click, click. The chief was also frightened by the loud noise, and the mushrooms lost their grip and fell to the ground. It looked around vigilantly, and was about to fall to the ground to pick it up. Dangerous. Go back. Chen Mo immediately became conscious. It's time to pick up a fart mushroom. Chen Mo breathed a sigh of relief seeing the chief safely across the road from a distance and flying into the forest. But he didn't leave, because 3 soldiers drove up. Good guy, it's actually been shot down. All the flying birds were shot down. You are worthy of being a sharpshooter in our district. It's not necessarily a bird hit. I looked through the telescope and it seemed that something it was holding had dropped. I bet 50 cents, it must have hit the bird. If there are still intact feathers later, you have to make me a quill. It doesn't matter, we have already loosened the control regulations. When the time comes, we can go directly to the mountains to hunt. We will get you as many feathers as you want. People in the forest farm say that there are wolves in here. Time to get you a wolf fur coat. Quote, wolf fur is too ugly, I want fox fur. A few people were smiling, and you said something, and I said something. Chen Mo watched the 3 soldiers silently, watching them gradually approaching. The sporangia on the mushroom begin to mature. Sure enough, where there are humans, there is danger. Keeping this base will be a disaster sooner or later. Of course he won't have any losses, but the basin, this is Chen Mo's territory. He doesn't allow outsiders to make trouble inside. The 2 little friends also get along with each other with affection. If they get hurt, Chen Mo will definitely be blown up. We have to find a way to make human beings retreat in the face of difficulties, and cancel this base. Ha, I really didn't hit the bird. Ha ha, give me 50 cents. The bird is holding a mushroom. A soldier put his gun behind his back and stooped to pick up the mushroom. What kind of mushroom is this? It looks so ugly. Leave him alone. Be careful, it's poisonous. Throw it away quickly, we're going back. It's all out. Why don't you go hunting in the woods before going back? Don't. Come next time, it's almost time to eat. Huh, there is a shiny spot on this mushroom, huh. It looks like metal. Hello, don't say it, it feels a little hard, it really looks like metal. The superiors seem to say that if you encounter something strange, you can take it back. If you find something, it will be counted as military merit. Experts will come in a few days. We will bring it back and show it to the experts. Maybe we will be rewarded. Chen Mo smiled, his eyes turned, and he landed on a mushroom that was constantly moving. That big wild boar 4 meters long. At this moment, his injury was more serious. This wound was not fatal, but it made him extremely tyrannical. The bullet in the wound was not removed, and the wound was festering and infected. And this gives the mushrooms the right growth conditions. An extremely tiny mushroom grows there. Lives on carrion. The presence of mushrooms, in turn, aggravates the infection. Because the hyphae are constantly secreting putrefactive substances. The wild boar didn't understand what was going on, but felt more and more painful. But pigs are very intelligent animals. Chen Mo radiates consciousness and communicates with it. At first, the other party was definitely not willing. But pain can teach it how to speak well. Recombination evolution. Chen Mo whispered softly. In an instant, a light curtain unfolded in front of him. An evolutionary tree appears. 4 branches emerged from it. They are: open black lens bracket psychedelic close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket corruption close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket metal close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket cystic structure close black lens bracket. Chen Mo is going to spend most of his evolution points to evolve both corruption and hallucinogenic genes. Warning: you are trying to use evolution points to recombine and evolve the corruption gene, which may increase the corruption ability of the decomposition enzyme 99% probability. It is worth noting that this operation may lead to unknown consequences 1% probability. Please choose carefully. Perform recombination evolution. Chen Mo glanced at the probability, and it made sense. The principle of recombination evolution is still unclear to Chen Mo, but this does not affect his speculation. It is estimated that the probability of failure of recombination evolution will become higher and higher. No, it cannot be called a failure. But uncontrollable. You just can't control the outcome. Unknown consequences. I am afraid it is an out-of-control mutation or something. Cancer. Of course, it may also be a very useful ability. For example, it was only a slight increase in the corruption ability of the decomposing enzyme, but it was suddenly recombined and evolved, and a small probability event was created, which directly caused the decomposing enzyme to explode. From slowly rotting flesh and blood to being able to directly dissolve steel plates. Of course, Chen Mo doesn't want to lose control. This thing wants to gain benefits, just like winning the lottery. If you have that skill, it is better to fight steadily. Evolve step by step. Information: the corruption gene has been recombined and evolved, and you have obtained the corruption type 2 feet gene. With its support, the hyphae can secrete corrupting substances at a faster speed, and the scope of application of corrupting substances has also been expanded. Even living things can be corrupted. Corruption type 2 gene. Perfect. Just what I needed. Looking at the evolutionary tree, the corruption gene on the top has been extended. This branch has grown longer, and a corruption type 2 gene has appeared in front of it, which means that Chen Mo has taken a step forward in the evolution of this branch. One step. Chen Mo resisted his excitement and continued to invest in evolution points, and magnificence did not evolve. Warning: you are trying to use evolution points to recombine and evolve the psychedelic gene, which may increase the hallucinogenic ability of the hallucinogenic substance 98% probability. It is worth noting that this operation may lead to unknown consequences 2% probability. Please choose carefully. Okay, the success rate of this magic is even lower. Logically speaking, the branch of the evolutionary tree of psychedelic ability is not as long as that of corruption. After careful consideration, Chen Mo understood what was going on. Corruption, undergoes an additional evolution. That is, the supplement of the beetle gene. After careful observation, sure enough, the trunk of the evolutionary tree and the corrupted branches are also thicker. This is a more vivid expression. The thicker the trunk, the farther it can extend. If it is thick enough, it can continue to extend more branches. After the evolution of phantom type 2 feet, Chenmo set his sights on the big wild boar. Go down the mountain, Chenmo said. Roar. Undoubtedly, there was still no communication to speak of. The other party could understand what Chenmo meant, but they just didn't want to communicate. But pain can make the other party learn to communicate. With the enhancement of the two abilities, Chenmo's ability to root in flesh and blood has been enhanced. There is no doubt that this ability manifested on living creatures is extremely terrifying and disgusting. It's Chenmo, who looks a little hairy. After all, there is a human psychology. Slowly, the wild boar's wound became more and more rotten. At this moment, the hyphae have completely taken root. If he wants, Chenmo can manipulate the spores to make the wild boar grow mushrooms and die in a wail of pain. But it's not necessary. Unnecessary killings, even cruel killings, Chenmo is not interested. He was more interested in what would happen if hallucinogens were injected into the wild boar at this moment. He has already obtained the complete genetic map of the wild boar, which has a 100% action efficiency bonus for creatures such as wild boars. Hallucinogens are very powerful in wild boars, and the emergence of the corruption type 2 feet gene allowed Chenmo to make mycelium corrode flesh and blood faster, instead of staying on the animal's body surface. This made it possible for Chenmo to inject hallucinogens. And it's a steady stream of hallucinogens. Use the flesh and blood of animals to provide nutrients, create hallucinogens, and then in turn, inject hallucinogens into animals continuously. With the infusion of hallucinogens, the enhanced Hydra type 2 feet works amazingly. It didn't take long for the wild boar to start experiencing hallucinatory effects. It turned out that the movements became slower, as if walking in the forest. He couldn't feel the pain in his body at first, and then, he hummed softly, and the little wild boars who had been scared away all gathered around again. Chenmo could feel that the tyrannical invasion disappeared. Because the hallucinogen paralyzed his nerves, or in other words, made him feel a sense of happiness. This feeling made it forget the pain caused by the wound for a short time. But as soon as Chenmo cuts off the supply of hallucinogens, the pain will come immediately. And make it more irritable and unsuitable. Doing so might manipulate the boar into being obedient. But Chenmo did not do this, but adopted a more effective method. Hallucination plus telepathy. This is much better than controlling with compulsion, don't know. But it takes some trying. Chenmo tried to use telepathy to influence the wild boar's judgment. Initial control of wild boars began. Not yet, the amount of hallucinogen is too small, try increasing it. The wild boar still instinctively resisted the voice in his heart. It can also tell that this is the weird sound from before. However, as the amount of hallucinogens increased, the wild boar became more and more excited, and his consciousness became blurred. Chenmo took the opportunity to express his consciousness. The wild boar is very obedient. Let him go wherever he wants, even though he staggers like he is drunk, he still obeys the instructions. But before going far, the wild boar lay down on the ground with a thud, and passed out. Okay, Chenmo seemed to be taken aback for a moment, but then he realized that because of his continuous experimentation, he unknowingly injected the wild boar with hallucinogens for the Chinese New Year. The opponent's consumption couldn't keep up with the injected dose, and immediately exceeded the maximum tolerated dose, and he passed out directly. Fortunately, this hallucinogen is not toxic, but simply has a very strong hallucinogenic effect. If you think about it too strong, it will be a transition of excitement at most, leading to coma. Not life-threatening. When the wild boar wakes up, the plan can be implemented. Chenmo murmured. He has already mastered the appropriate dosage, and can strike a balance between controlling the wild boar and maintaining the opponent's mobility. While waiting for the wild boar to wake up, Chenmo turned his gaze back to the human base. Now it is said that it is a base. It may not look like it is more like a construction site. There is only a very simple construction floor room, and then all kinds of construction machinery come and go, making a lot of noise. In a yard surrounded by prefabricated houses, a mushroom was placed on the table. Is this the special species you found? Asked the captain. Yes, captain. Isn't it amazing? Well, it's really amazing. The captain picked it up with gloves on and took a look. Really strange mushrooms, never seen before. Hey, captain, do I have a reward? I think there must be a third-class merit no matter what. You're thinking about shit. Immediately, a group of soldiers gathered around and laughed. We don't understand, so don't guess. The captain said seriously. Come here, take a few photos and send them to the expert group. There are a few of you on patrol tonight. How dare you leave the camp without authorization? Immediately, the entire team fell silent. Lu Biao, come here too. You are very capable, right? Go, give me 3 hours of target shooting, and eat after the shooting. Let me reiterate that this place is very dangerous. Experts have repeatedly warned me. In other places, there have been many incidents of wild animals hurting people. Fortunately, nothing happened this time. If something happens, I won't interrupt you. Dog legs. Waited until evening. The construction site is still brightly lit, and there are 3 shifts 24 hours a day. In order to catch up with the progress, called a lot of workers. A wild boar gallops through the forest. Chen Mo didn't rush to interfere with human construction, but let the mycelium cover the whole body of the wild boar. Of course, the mycelium did not grow from the wild boar, but climbed up from the ground, hanging a large number of mushrooms. A wild boar with a length of more than 4 meters and a weight of more than 500 kilograms is covered with mushrooms. Boar, start to act. The ammunition load of this wild boar is not comparable to that of the Little Miss Black Silk and the Chief. Running wildly in the forest, Chen Mo released spores all the way. Boom, boom. While running, the wild boar dragged a long smoke behind it. Chen Mo needs to sprinkle spore dust all over the mountains around the base after 3 hours. Boom, boom. A soldier on patrol suddenly said. Did you hear any strange noises? What sound? The sound of bang 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 is a bit like. It seems to come from the forest. Bang bang bang. You can't be training the captain to be stupid, are you? This is obviously someone who farted serially. Ha ha ha. Several soldiers laughed, but they still picked up the flashlight and shone into the forest. Tisk tisk. The tree changes every day. My god, it's really scary to see. Yeah, don't tell me, it looks really scary tonight. It's just a psychological effect. There's nothing to be afraid of. No matter how big the tree grows, it's still a tree. The wild boar must have weighed 1,000 catties last time. I almost jumped out of it. Crash. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed past in the forest. The speed was so fast that the whole forest seemed to be shaking. Click, click. There was the sound of a bolt being pulled. What? A group of 5 soldiers raised their weapons one after another. What the hell was that just now? It's so big. It looks like some kind of beast. Did you hear that bang bang? Run, far away. A soldier swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said. After this incident made such a fuss, everyone couldn't help but stay away from the edge of some forests, and didn't dare to get too close to patrol. Naturally, Chen Mo also saw a few soldiers. But never mind. In fact, if he rushed out just now, it is entirely possible to kill a few soldiers. They didn't wear gas masks, and the spore powder was enough to bring them down. However, the spore powder didn't take effect immediately. If he rushed out, the wild boar would definitely be finished. This wild boar Chen Mo has great uses. The game has only just begun. In a blink of an eye, 3 hours passed. Wild boars are just animals known for their endurance. Even after running for 3 hours, they will fully recover after a short rest. After 3 hours, all the mushrooms hanging on the wild boar were blown up, and the spore powder was also released. Next, it happened to be 9 o'clock in the evening. Worksite shift time. At this time, all workers will get out of forklifts, engineering vehicles, and machines will stop. And there will be a lot of people. Finding the right opportunity, a wild boar rushed out of the forest. Boom. A person was directly sent flying by a wild boar. Oh my god, what the hell is this? Call the soldiers over here. There are big wild boars. Ah. Help, I'm broken. Suddenly, the entire construction site was in chaos. Facing a wild boar weighing 1,000 catties, a human being weighing 1 or 200 catties would fly away at the touch. Chen Mo controls the wild boar and plays a game of bumper cars here. The wild boar chariot is rampant and overbearing, turning people off their backs. Boom! With a sprint of the boar, the water tower was directly exploded, and 2 big holes were created by the fangs. The water rushed straight out and onto the wires. Boom! Another collision directly knocked over the high-power light bulb. And a diesel generator. Chen Mo's eyes lit up, he controlled the wild boar, and a pig rushed forward. Boom! The entire diesel engine was knocked over, and the diesel inside leaked out, but unfortunately, diesel does not catch fire easily. But even so, it still caused a large-scale power outage. This made all the workers scream in horror. Don't shoot, there's oil. Oil barrel, quickly turn off the engine. It's about to explode. Wait for the soldiers to finally arrive. But, it's useless. Because it happened to be shift change time, there were too many people. The wild boar also knocked over the diesel barrel. Oil is everywhere, there is also electricity leakage and water leakage. It's black light and blind fire again. This wild boar is also evil, and it specializes in bumping into people. If someone falls to the ground, it doesn't attack, but keeps bumping into people. The soldiers didn't dare to shoot at all, a ricochet, or a wrong shot, surrounded by equipment and people. Spread out, climb on the roof. Finally, the crowd dispersed. The soldiers raised their guns one after another. However, the wild boar made a sharp turn and got behind the car, causing everyone to vomit blood. He hurriedly chased after him, and after a few bang 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 shots, they all missed, and the wild boar had already run into the forest. Miss Lu Biao was dumbfounded. Biaozi, aren't you very capable? You still shoot birds during the day, and you missed such a big pig. The captain also arrived at this time. Seeing the chaotic scene, he was immediately out of breath. He scolded sharpshooter Lu Biao again. This guy usually boasted that he was good at marksmanship, so he fired 3 shots in a row and missed the wild boar. Captain, this seems to be the wild boar from last time, it's so big. I heard that the wild boar has a good memory. He must have held a grudge. He came to take revenge and ran away as soon as he saw the gun in our hand. This wild boar is really wicked. You say a word, I say a word. It's just a wild boar. You don't want to be ashamed, I'm so ashamed. Let's talk, talk, talk. Let me go on patrol. Be on guard. Military doctor, help the wounded. The captain's face was extremely ugly, and he scolded everyone, while rushing to organize rescue and rectify the scene. One night, all the soldiers didn't sleep, they were all patrolling outside. Most of the workers were also awake, cleaning up the messy construction site and helping the wounded. Throughout the night, the construction progress did not advance at all. The captain's accident statistics are out. Soldiers came into the office with papers. The captain sighed with dark circles under his eyes. What are you looking at me for? Read it. A total of 105 workers were injured, 21 of whom were seriously injured. In addition, 2 water towers and a diesel generator were lost. There was a 3-way diesel leak. Some workers operated machinery because of panic and crashed a car. It's okay, as long as no one is dead. The captain breathed a sigh of relief. If you start a project and people die, it will be really troublesome. Originally, the inside of the forest was rumored to be mysterious. Many workers didn't want to come in, thinking it was too dangerous. If someone died again, he felt that the supervisors sent here by the Academy of Sciences would tear him apart. But it's almost there now. Sure enough, there were hurried footsteps outside. Captain Huang, what should we do? The workers are clamoring to go home. Hey, there is no construction all night, and the progress can't catch up. Work has not resumed yet. There are only 1,000 or so people in total, and now there are 100 or so injured. What am I going to do? He waited for Team Yellow to give an explanation. It's safe to say yes. Now, who will bear the loss? What's more, it was only caused by a wild boar. This loss is outrageous. Then what? Isn't there no dead person? Suppress the matter. Looking at the supervisors of the Academy of Sciences, Captain Huang couldn't help but feel a headache. They are only responsible for safety. How could he know what to do with this shit? If you can't do it, please ask a leader for instructions. I have already raised my opinion before. Team Huang said so. It's not like he's shirking responsibility, Last time he said he built the wall first. However, this opinion was not adopted by the construction unit, that is, the Academy of Sciences. Now that something goes wrong, they can't be blamed entirely, at least the Academy of Sciences should bear half of the responsibility. Through the mushrooms placed in the yard by the soldiers, Chenmo knew about the current headaches of human beings, and he smiled lightly. This is just the beginning. It seems that this construction site will not resume work within a day. Delay the construction period for a day or two, just to allow the surrounding mushrooms to grow and the spores to mature. Of course, during this time, Chenmo was not idle. He manipulated the wild boars, kept spreading spores in the forest, and expanded the gene pool. Yes, a 1000 jin wild boar is almost invincible in the forest, at least in this vicinity. There are no forests where tigers and bears exist, so it is invincible. Roar! A pig rushed forward, and with a bang, the whole tree shook slightly. A wild goat was directly pushed against the trunk and died on the spot. The wild boar went down in one bite, tearing apart the flesh and blood. Then dig a hole and bury the wild goat in the hole. After a few hours, the soil was turned over, and several mushrooms emerged from it, growing bigger and bigger. Event: you absorbed goat blood, obtained 10% of goat genes, you extracted usable genes from it, your genetic structure has been optimized, your cell repair ability has been slightly enhanced, which can speed up the healing of wounds, thus improve survivability, adaptability plus 0.1. Information: you have obtained a 100% genetic map of goats. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of goats has deepened. Based on this research, your understanding of organic species branches and carbon-based organisms has also been deepened. Carbon-based biological knowledge plus 1. Increase the efficiency of various actions by 1%. Chenmo looked at the attribute panel, and now he already has plus 50 knowledge reserves of carbon-based organisms. The research progress of evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, is 10%. The research progress of telling the clues and effectively expanding has reached 90%. Only one genetic map of mutant organisms is missing. Chenmo has not been idle during this time, and the two neighbors are also very good, so 3 kinds of mutant creatures have been captured, but luck is too bad. The genetic maps of these 3 kinds are not very helpful for research. Chenmo carefully speculates that he still has a more powerful mutant creature is needed. It's good to say that the knowledge reserve is good. There are more than 100 species in the basin alone. It's just that it may take a day or two to find this powerful mutant creature. Suddenly, a poisonous snake came into Chenmo's sight. The poisonous snake sensed that a giant was approaching, and immediately puffed up its neck, and poked out the upper half of its body. Cobra, or at least 4 meters long cobra. The arms are so thick. When he raised his head, he was even taller than a wild boar. Mutant cobra. Chenmo was overjoyed, and on the other side, the cobra aggressively launched an attack. Spit the venom directly. Chenmo controlled the wild boar and immediately hid behind a tree. Chi-chi sounded. It looks like the bark has been corroded. Toxic. This cobra's racial talent looks to be venom. Chenmo didn't intend to fight the snake. The boar chariot is still very powerful, and Chenmo is not planning to scrap it here as a one-time tool. What should we do if the ground attack encounters strong resistance? Calling air support, of course. Chief, work. Chenmo has a consciousness. The chief who was playing with Roar immediately put down his stick and grabbed the mushroom that was lifted by the mycelium. Take off. Arrive at the scheduled location. Bombing. Boom. The mushroom hit the cobra's head accurately. Before the cobra could react, the mushroom slammed again, and a large pile of spore powder exploded all over it. Hallucinogenic spore powder. In an instant, the cobra died. Snakes are cold-blooded animals, and their blood circulation is not that intense, so they are more resistant to hallucinogenic substances. But it's only a matter of time. What's more, if one doesn't work, just 2. The chief holds a mushroom in one paw. Can carry 2 mushroom bombs at a time. The cobra just crawled out, and was blown dizzy again. The snake didn't know how to protect itself, and was still sticking out its tongue, which caused many hallucinogenic spores to be directly swallowed by the snake, and the hallucinogenic effect was even stronger. Not long after, the cobra fell to the ground. When the cobra was completely motionless, the wild boar walked up unhurriedly, put his foot on his head, and stomped on it. Such a big snake is enough to plunder enough genes. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated cobra, obtained 15% of the mutated cobra gene, you extracted usable genes from it, you integrated these genes into your own gene map, your toxin gene was partially enhanced, you can secrete poisonous substances, and the toxins can take effect on most carbon-based organisms, which makes your danger increase, and the danger level is plus 0.5. Information: you have obtained a 100% genetic map of the mutated cobra. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of the mutated cobra has deepened. Based on this research, your understanding of the branches of organic species and carbon-based organisms has also been deepened. Carbon-based organisms knowledge +1, increase the efficiency of its various actions by 1%. Finished. Chen Mo's excited voice sounded. Along with it, there is also system information. Evolution clue: effective expansion. Based on the knowledge reserve of carbon-based organisms +50, you have analyzed a porous structure gene based on the existing genetic data. This gene will act on the spores to produce a pore structure, so that the buoyancy of the spore powder increases under the same weight. 50%, it can extend the time of staying in the air, up to 1,000 meters high, activate this gene, can improve the adaptability +0.3, and the danger level +0.7. Looking at the research results, Chen Mo was even more ecstatic, his adaptability increased by 0.3, and he was stuck at the median reward, while the danger level was the direct maximum reward. Raising so many danger levels at once is probably inseparable from the fact that my spores are highly toxic. Poisonous spore powder that travels far. The danger is obvious. Not to mention poisonous, even the non-toxic spore powder has caused the workers in the base to suffer a lot these days. Especially people with rhinitis. Some of them could no longer work because of severe rhinitis, so they quit the construction site directly. Ah, sneeze. With a sneeze, Captain Huang felt that the pen in his hand was about to fly out. What's going on? So much pollen. Soldiers have been sent to investigate the cause and will be reporting soon. Captain, it's not pollen. It seems to be a fist-sized mushroom. It has grown a lot, but fortunately the weather is hot, otherwise, it would have grown more. Everyone knows that mushrooms grow after the rain. Of course Chen Mo also knew. Then we have to prepare a batch of masks quickly. According to the weather forecast, it will rain tomorrow. By the way, get some gas masks too. This forest is getting weirder and weirder. While the captain was talking, he wrote masks and gas masks on the list of supplies. In the past few days, he really realized the difference in the forest: a snake with thick arms, and a rabbit weighing 50 or 60 catties. Thousands of catties of wild boar. There are also tall trees growing on both sides of the base every day. Now there are more headache mushrooms. It's not that they can't bear the hardship, it's just that this thing doesn't know what's going on, and there are so many spore powders. He was fine inside the house, and there were still guards outside the construction. When the wind blew, it was no exaggeration to say that sometimes it was like fog. Although a puff of smoke passed. But that choking is really uncomfortable. After knowing it was a mushroom, I felt even more disgusted. Originally, Chen Mo was ready to launch an attack, but he heard that it was raining the next day. He was ready to wait again. Another 2 days. The mushrooms around the base have grown 7 rounds. The round after a rain was even more powerful. Mushrooms grow everywhere. Of course, Chen Mo didn't exaggerate. Because that would be too much attention. The 8th round of spores also matured, but they were not released. Because the spores are already poisonous. This time the sporangia are filled with toxin spores. Wait for the night. At this time, Chen Mo has realized all-round monitoring of the base. Soon, the wild boar found a gap in the patrol and slipped into the construction site. The pig is advancing by leaps and bounds. Hit me. Boom. This time, as soon as the wild boar came up, it ran into a person standing next to a diesel generator. The man peed in fright and hurried away. But it doesn't matter, Chen Mo didn't hit him in the first place. The wild boar hit the diesel generator directly. Boom. The headlights were almost all off. The night in the forest is extremely dark. The wild boar is coming. A howl resounded throughout the construction site. Taking advantage of the darkness, Chen Mo manipulated his wild boar chariot and went on a rampage. This time it was not so easy, the wild boar just opened its mouth. It gnawed directly on the leg of a worker who was not in a hurry. Click. Leg bones shattered. Fangs are also used. Directly flew a group of people out. Seeing a 1,000 jin wild boar, the ground shook as he ran. Who dares to be tough? All fled in embarrassment. What Chen Mo relies on is not wild boar's vision, but mushrooms, so he can always avoid soldiers cleverly and always get into crowded places. The noise was almost over, and everyone came out of the room. Coincidentally, it was also windy. Chen Mo manipulated the wild boar and retreated quickly. Because he was going to take advantage of the wind blowing towards the base to release poison. Pore-like structure of toxin spores activated. Longer hang time. And it's toxic. This is almost a low-profile version of the gas bomb. And the gust of wind is just right. Chenmo has already monitored the wind speed at the upper air outlet. Gentle breeze. The wind speed is not fast, but the persistence is very good. Let this beast run away again. The captain gritted his teeth angrily. This time, he himself brought the gun himself. But unfortunately, I didn't find a chance to shoot. The other party seemed to really know guns, and they were always far away from them, and there were honestly crowds blocking them. He could only watch helplessly as the opponent knocked over a person, then knocked an oil barrel into the air, and jumped directly into the forest. It was pitch black inside, and the branches were drooping, like a terrifying alien world. No one dared to chase in at night. And at this time, deep in the forest, in the darkness, there was also a pair of green eyes looking coldly outside. It's a wild boar. That beast hasn't left yet. It seems to be waiting for something. The beast hasn't gone far. A soldier exclaimed. Looking at those eyes, I couldn't help but feel a little bit in my heart. Feeling some fear. Woo woo woo. Suddenly, a ghostly wind blew up. When the wind blows through the narrow mountain pass dug by the population, it makes this weird sound. Standing at the entrance of this weird forest, different world, surrounded by ghostly winds, in the darkness, there are ghostly eyes that light up. The captain could not help but shudder. Cough cough cough. Suddenly, there was a coughing sound. The coughing sound became one. Cough cough cough. Ah, how uncomfortable. People fell down one by one. The captain took a few steps in horror, and wanted to rush back to the barracks to send a message, but he coughed violently and fell to the ground. The boar reappeared and killed the sniper who had wounded himself and nearly wounded the chief at the same time. This doesn't need any pretense. That's how wild boars hold grudges. Taking advantage of this opportunity to retaliate is completely justified, and no one will doubt it. Take the opportunity to plunder human genes. Event: you have absorbed human blood and obtained 15% of human genes, you have extracted unique genes from it, and neural genes are embedded in your genes. You can initially build a simple neural network, participate in body construction, and be able to improve body perception while improving responsiveness to the environment. Comma. Information: you absorbed human blood and obtained 20% of human genes. Information: you have obtained a 100% genetic map of human beings. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of this peak species of mammalian evolution has deepened. Based on this research, your understanding of the branches of organic species and carbon-based organisms has also been deepened. Carbon-based biological knowledge +5, and the efficiency of its various actions increased by 5%. Evolution clues: sensory organs. Based on the existing genetic data, you have analyzed a possible evolutionary structure, which will shape a brand new organ category to further improve the adaptability and perception range, and it is expected to improve the adaptability +0.81, and the danger level +0.1-0.3. You need the knowledge reserve support of carbon-based organisms +100, and the genetic maps of 3 to 10 representative evolutionary organisms at different stages of evolution. Humans deserve to be the most evolved species on this planet. Chen Mo looked at the harvest, a little surprised. Nerve cells. He directly obtained the basic gene for building a smart brain, the neural gene. With this, he is trying to build a rough neural network, and with the neural network, all complex senses based on this, such as eyes, smell, touch, and so on, can develop to a more advanced form. Of course, the pinnacle of neural network achievement is a smart brain. If I build a rough neural network in each mushroom, wouldn't that mean that each mushroom has a certain ability to accept and process external information? Wouldn't it be necessary to switch the perspective frequently to each mushroom? Equivalent to having countless eyes and countless noses, my perspective is truly fully covered. I am inherently intelligent, and as the number of individuals increases, my consciousness becomes stronger and stronger. If I evolve a large number of brains, what effect will it have? Chen Mo couldn't help thinking about this question. The rough neural network is equivalent to a processor. To make it play a real role, it needs to evolve various sensory organs. Speaking of it, I've been working on it for a long time, but I haven't grown my brain yet. Chen Mo was in a good mood and couldn't help complaining to himself. Open the properties panel, and now the properties have made great progress. Open black lens bracket race close black lens bracket, mutated mushroom. Evolution point 5. Gene pool 100% human, 100% wild boar, 100% cobra. Available genes hallucinogenic, corrupt, metal, cystic structure, toxin, nerve. Research bonus carbon-based creatures plus 5 psionic knowledge plus 2. Organ properties panel. Mutated mycelium, the nutrient absorption efficiency is 1.6. It can quickly absorb the organic matter in the ready-made decaying matter, obtain energy in matter, and the efficiency is extremely low. It can plunder genes through fresh cell tissue. Spores adaptability is 3.4. Fragile seeds are afraid of high temperature, cold, ultraviolet rays, dryness, etc. Any unusual environment may slow down the growth rate of spores, but usually it will not cause the spores to die immediately. Cap. After maturity, spores can be produced. The number of each batch is 3.5 minus 3.6 billion. The production cycle is 410 minutes per cycle, which requires a large amount of nutrients. Overall evaluation, the danger level is 2.2. You have exceeded the danger level of ordinary creatures by 2 points. You are developing towards an extremely dangerous creature. Your existence itself has an impact on the surrounding area, and the impact on the ecological environment is gradually increasing. Appear. Woo woo woo. There was another gust of wind blowing, and the wind speeded up. The effect is not bad, but the wind speed passes through this narrow place. I didn't expect it to speed up a lot. After Chen Mo finished, he continued to observe the construction site. Almost every human fell down. Only a few were quick-witted and covered their mouths with wet towels. But that doesn't matter. A rough estimate puts the death toll at around a dozen. This is already a heavy casualty. It's not war after all. Such an accident can definitely delay the construction period for a long time. Moreover, the fact that the mushroom dust is poisonous can also give these people a warning that this area is not suitable for human habitation. There is a high probability that humans will cancel this base. Of course, Chen Mo will soon adjust the shape of the mushroom. This kind of gray-black poisonous mushroom grows slowly at ordinary times, only grows violently when it rains, and dies quickly. Yes, Chen Mo artificially defined this mushroom. In this way, humans will not worry that the mushrooms will grow everywhere and endanger the city. Chen Mo is not interested in what name this mushroom is given by humans. Early the next morning, a convoy of supplies arrived. Seeing people all over the place, the driver's scalp exploded. Professor Liu, get ready. Go to Jingyu town immediately. From the principal's side, a phone call came directly. After a busy night, Professor Liu, who was about to close his eyes a little, was blindsided. Hurry up. There is a helicopter directly to the school playground. Say it from the helicopter. On the other side, the headmaster was very anxious. It was the first time for Professor Liu to be treated like this, and the helicopter went directly to the school to pick him up. Countless students looked at this side and discussed what was going on. On the helicopter, a colonel took the video directly and showed it to Professor Liu. She was stunned. A whole row of corpses, all with strangely black faces. There are at least hundreds, or even thousands of wounded on the side. The construction department of Jingyu Town Psychic Energy Research Base, all the people, a total of 10 people, were all poisoned. Some of them were very mildly poisoned and said that it might be caused by mushroom powder. Professor Liu, we need your help. The colonel said very sadly. They have already invited a lot of experts from all aspects to gather in Jingyu Town. Because Professor Liu's Jingyu Town Biological Investigation Report is so famous, the military immediately thought of her, and she happened to be researching mushrooms recently. We have already transported everyone out of the construction site, and the higher-ups have listed that area as a restricted area. No one is allowed to enter until the investigation is clear. The colonel continued. On the side, the principal was even more heartbroken. He had already been notified that not only had the research project changed its location, but he had also been bloodied when he chose the location. 5 or 6 hours later, 5 helicopters arrived in Jingyu town one after another. It appears to be some kind of neurotoxin. Indeed, but it is slightly corrosive and has a strong stimulating effect on the mucous membrane of the respiratory tract. The autopsy results came out, and it was the toxin that caused organ failure and necrosis of kidney function. This is the first time I've seen this toxin, it's very strange. What to do? Many wounded have been poisoned, there is no antidote, and there is not enough hemodialysis equipment. Several of them are dying. There was a lot of discussion. Colonel, can I go to the base and have a look? Lu Ru said. She is really not good at detoxification. This should be more a doctor's job. Try to understand the root cause of poisoning and prevent this kind of thing from happening again. This is what she can do now. Okay, let's go right away. Seeing that so many people died, and the wounds and illnesses were even more numerous, they almost filled up half of the town. Therefore, many experts were very scared and did not mention the matter of field investigation. Fortunately, Lu Ru took the lead, and the colonel couldn't help being very happy. Seeing someone take the lead, several experts in biology followed suit. For safety reasons, the colonel also sent 20 soldiers to follow. Everyone wears a gas mask. All the roads leading to the construction site were blocked. Because of this incident, the surrounding area is now directly closed to the mountains, and every household has notified that no one is allowed to enter the mountains. After wandering on the road for more than an hour, everyone got out of the car. Lu Ru carefully observed the mushrooms on the side of the road, measured the test paper in his hand, and took off the gas mask. The sight of this thing is not good, and it is impossible to observe normally. Professor, please wear a mask. Some soldiers immediately broke out in a cold sweat from fright, and hurriedly asked to bring them. If something happened to such a great expert here, those responsible for the security work would be a heinous crime, and everyone would probably be punished. It's okay, the spore powder is gone, just wear a mask. Lu Ru saw that the soldier looked very troubled, so he had to take out his mask and make a compromise. Seeing what she said, everyone took off their gas masks one after another, really panicking. This mushroom didn't exist half a month ago. As soon as she entered the working state, Lu Ru became engrossed. The more she looked, the more frightened Lu Ru became. She remembered that she had specifically sorted out and recorded the distribution of vegetation in this area, as well as its types. The purpose is to compare the next time I go. Who would have thought that there would be such a terrifying change in less than half a month? A brand new type of mushroom. Looking at the branching pattern of mycelium, it is somewhat similar to green mushrooms. The spores actually grow in a transparent sac-like structure, no wonder it will suddenly cause an effect similar to poisonous gas. The platoon leader on the side quickly winked, and the soldiers behind him turned on their combat recorders one after another. Professor, are you saying this is due to the concentrated release of powder? Well, these mushrooms should all be from the same batch. I checked the weather here. I'm afraid it was the heavy rain the day before yesterday that caused the mushrooms to multiply. It just happened that the mushrooms were all ripe last night and released spore dust concentrated LY, which led to the poisoning accident. If the mushrooms are grown in batches, even if there is damage, it will not be so serious. And if there is no wind, the spore powder cannot be scattered that far. Quote. That's really too bad luck. Everyone was speechless, so many coincidences came together, it was raining, and it was blowing. Has no one noticed the anomaly before? Professor Lu asked strangely. Logically, he would be more or less aware of it. Yes, in fact, many people had allergic reactions before, and the captain also applied for a batch of masks. That makes sense. Professor Lu nodded. Let's go into the woods and have a look. Professor Lu also knew that it was dangerous inside, but for some reason, he had a feeling that if he went in and had a look, there might be some unexpected gains. Anyway, it's not too far. Lu Ru thought so, and walked forward. At the entrance of the forest, next to the huge trees, there is another gray-black poisonous mushroom. But on the side, there is a small white mushroom. And other mushrooms. Professor Lu's eyes lit up immediately, and he hurried over to have a look. Be aware of fungal organisms, but they are very exclusive. What's more, this kind of mushroom that can secrete toxins, a mushroom that can grow on the side, is not easy. Lu Ru knelt down, ready to sample. Suddenly, a thought flashed through her mind. Toxic, xenophobic, this white mushroom may be able to resist the poison. The antidote. We may have found the antidote, Lu Ru said excitedly. When she told everyone about her thoughts, everyone thought it was very possible. Quick, pick more mushrooms and go back. Everyone took action one after another, regardless of whether it was useful or not. There was a hope in front of them. Hope it works. Lu Ru carefully observed that the appearance of this white mushroom did not look like a poisonous type, but it looked like an edible one, or it only had extremely weak hallucinogenic properties. Why was she able to make this judgment? Because of Chen Mo. It's not for nothing that Chen Mo stays in the opponent's laboratory every day. There are several students of Professor Lu. Besides Ali, there are also several girls who are newcomers, studious and often ask questions in the laboratory. Chen Mo's consciousness is strong. He has a photographic memory, books, computers, and the conversations between students. He has not been left behind. When Professor Lu was in class, he was equivalent to an invisible student. Therefore, it is not difficult to make the mushroom grow in line with Lu Ru's cognition. What's more, he was already too familiar with Lu Ru's consciousness, so he could easily give her some hints inadvertently. The effect of telepathy. Chen Mo dare not say it is very powerful, but in Lu Ru's body, it is really very skilled. Professor Lu and the others immediately rushed back to Jingyu Town because of new discoveries. How's the situation? When the platoon leader got out of the car, he hurriedly asked. Many of those lying down were his comrades in arms. It is impossible to say that he is not worried. What's more, now that there may be an antidote, it is even more anxious. What? Eat another kind of mushroom to detoxify? The colonel was taken aback for a moment, with doubts on his face. Professor this, okay. He looked at Lu Ru. It's bad. Several people are dying. We don't have enough hemodialysis equipment. A doctor rushed over, ready to inform the aftermath. We did our best. The doctor is a little sad. At this time, I can only be a dead horse as a living horse doctor. The headmaster immediately said coldly. Feed mushrooms to all the seriously ill. Colonel, I'm afraid. The doctor looked embarrassed. This treatment plan was too outrageous. He didn't want to agree. Eat it. It's not poisonous. It's better to have a try than to have no antidote. I saw that Professor Lu's tone was calm, and he had shaken the cup several times, but the color of the reagent inside did not change. After speaking, she grabbed a mushroom and stuffed it into her mouth. This action frightened everyone into confusion. However, as Professor Lu Ru said, there is no toxicity. On the contrary, there is a hint of sweetness in the taste. Originally, Lu Ru was just trying to dissuade everyone from thinking about it, but after taking a bite, she found that it was quite delicious. When she smelled it carefully, there was a faint fragrance, like a fruity aroma. She couldn't help stuffing a little more into her mouth, chewing carefully. It tastes good. Do you want to try it? Lu Ru said calmly. Seeing this scene, the colonel finally made up his mind, gritted his teeth and said, Hey mushrooms, I'm the only one responsible for it. He compelled to order. The death of more than a dozen people has already shocked him, and his superiors have called to personally intervene. At this moment, there are a lot of reporters in the town. He's under a lot of pressure. If he continues to die, to be honest, he is really finished. It's better to fight, as Professor Lu said. If he could successfully save the person, he might be able to make meritorious service for it. Everyone didn't expect that a soldier who came back just now forgot to turn off the tactical recorder. Recorded the picture of Lu Ru calmly persuading everyone just now. Is this kind of white mushroom that lives next to the poisonous mushroom useful? Of course there is, because that's what Chen Mo designed. He fully understands the structure of the toxin gene, and the secreted toxin is naturally clear, so just ask the white mushroom to produce a compound toxin substance. Grind white mushrooms and feed them for immediate results. It works. Some are useful. Boom. Suddenly, the entire camp was boiling. The colonel was ecstatic, and rushed into the emergency room to see that the person's face had returned to normal. The gray and black like a dead person is receding, and some of them are in a milder condition. Although they can't speak, they have already opened their eyes. It's a miracle. It's already out of the dangerous symptoms. The doctor was surprised. Quick, let the media reporters come in. The colonel gave the order immediately. Originally blocking reporters from coming in was very stressful. At this moment, there is good news, report it quickly. Otherwise, the fishing boat situation is too unfavorable for them. Not long after, Professor Lu Ru was surrounded. Professor Lu, how did you discover this? Professor Lu, you have saved thousands of people by yourself. How do you feel? Professor Lu, what do you think of this mutated mushroom? Lu Ru didn't want to be interviewed at first. She didn't like crowded places. She just likes to do research quietly. Sitting in the laboratory every day, looking at mushrooms, is better than this. But the excited headmaster just kept encouraging her, and said that if a large amount of funding is to be approved for her, and if the laboratory is relocated, she must still be responsible for it. In order to study the conditions better, Lu Ru reluctantly agreed. She picked some questions and answered them. This gray-black mutated poisonous mushroom, I initially think, should not be particularly harmful. Its growth rate and spore production rate are only at the level of normal mushrooms, and may even be lower. Then I would like to ask Professor Lu, how do you think this accident was caused? The accident this time was mainly due to the combination of various factors including the environment and the terrain. I just learned that in order to facilitate the construction, a lot of pesticides were sprayed, which led to the destruction of the environment. A large area of China was quickly occupied by poisonous mushrooms, coupled with heavy rain and humid climate, which led to the proliferation of poisonous mushrooms. In fact, nature has a reasonable system, and every kind of creature is unlikely to grow excessively. If we don't break this balance, the problem should not be big. Of course, this is only a current judgment, and I will conduct more in-depth investigation and research later. Quote, it's been revealed that the Academy of Sciences is going to close the experimental base. Professor Lu, what do you think? It doesn't matter if it is closed. There are indeed too many unknown factors in the forest at present, but we will not give up on research, we just need to think carefully. Lu Ru saw the principal at the side and winked at her frantically. She knew that it seemed that she had said something she shouldn't have said. Then she should just shut up. Ouch, my aunt, how can you say that? You don't dare blame the Academy of Sciences. At the end of the interview, the principal almost cried. If it were someone else, he would jump up and curse. But this is Lu Ru, and now the whole world is a hot scientist. Even hotter than many stars. In this case, as the principal, he is just the leader in name only. If he gets angry, he might change schools immediately. Then he will really cry to death. For such an aunt, he can only put on a sad face and try to persuade her. When necessary, sell badly. Grandma, we have to rely on others to approve the funds. You don't want a new laboratory. Your big mushroom is not meant to build a large greenhouse. Do you want to cultivate your mutated plants? This is all white money. He counted each item with Lu Ru. Okay, I won't say it next time. Lu Ru said. Casually, she grabbed a mushroom and put it in her mouth. Sweet and delicious. The principal nodded slightly, finally heaving a sigh of relief. But as soon as he reached the door, another group of reporters frantically surrounded him. Because, the scene of Professor Lu saving people from eating mushrooms just now was exposed. Seeing the crazy enthusiasm on the internet, the principal was ecstatic. He quickly rushed to Professor Lu again. Professor Lu, you should say a few more words later. Try to say something nice. The principal gritted his teeth, wishing he could brag to the reporters, but he knew that this was impossible. At this moment, Professor Lu was completely alive, and his image was completely erected. Healing diseases and saving lives, great wisdom. This is the real scholar, Professor. Okay, I'll try my best. Professor Lu was very speechless. What more? Didn't you say it just now? Now she just wants to go back to the forest and do research. Companion mushrooms can save lives. This mushroom can be eaten. Still very sweet. In an instant, as Lu Ru calmly ate mushrooms, the scene of persuading everyone was exposed. There was a mushroom craze in the evening. Where can I buy the white mushrooms? A lot of money to buy white mushrooms. Is there any old iron in Jingyu town? Please help me get some mushrooms. In the end, it even became more and more mysterious, and the rumors that the mushroom could trigger supernatural powers were spread. In the end, Lu Ru studied carefully and gave the answer. This mushroom was named Jingyu mushroom by her, commemorating the place where it was discovered. This mushroom is available and delicious. It is even more delicious when fried. It also contains some stimulating substances similar to caffeine, but the content is very small, which may be an important source of delicious taste. Professor Lu, will this cause addiction? No, in fact, a small amount of caffeine or substances within theophylline are good for invigorating human body functions. The popularity of coffee and tea in the world is inseparable from these substances. That is to say, this mushroom can not only make delicious food, but also be used as a new raw material for beverage production. Yes, indeed, our school has set up a special research project to study the large-scale cultivation of Jingyu mushroom. On the side, the principal finally couldn't bear it anymore. Professor Lu didn't say the key point for a long time. He might as well come by himself. Does the project have money? Not a problem. If this is brought up, money will naturally come. It does not require sunlight, has a short growth cycle, is rich in nutrients, and can refresh the mind. Such a food. Okay, very good. The product of Chen Mo's inspiration, once launched by Shanghai University, has been widely acclaimed. Shanghai University has received a large amount of research funds allocated by the above. The residents of Jingyu town also saw the business opportunities, planted Jingyu mushrooms one after another, and publicized them as local specialty products. Strange to say, this Jingyu mushroom grows best around Jingyu town, and tastes the best. According to the analysis of agricultural experts, this may be related to the unique local climate and soil. Even smarter farmers, inspired by Professor Lu's story, planted gray-black mushrooms and Jingyu mushrooms together, and found that the taste of Jingyu mushrooms is even better. The deadly poisonous mushroom actually makes the taste of Jingyu mushroom even better, plus the twists and turns of the story of Jingyu mushroom entering the human eye. Once this delicacy was born, it became popular and expensive. As the discoverer and namer of Jingyu mushroom, Lu Ru is even more famous. Wisdom, bravery, and beauty are all in one, and there are many honorable titles on him. She is hailed as a national treasure and the goddess in the temple of science. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, another week has passed. Chen Mo already has a very clear concept of time, not only because his consciousness is getting stronger and stronger, but also because Professor Lu's laboratory welcomes a group of visiting students every week. This week, another group of students came here admiringly. Of course, not many of them are cute. Compared with Lu Ru's students, they are far behind, and the questions they ask are also very substandard. So Chen Mo listened for a while, then turned his gaze back to the mushroom forest. The mushroom forest at this time does not seem to have changed at all. If there is a change, it will be more harmonious. Yes, Chen Mo has learned how to integrate into the ecology of the basin and play the role of a mushroom in it. Almost every mushroom forest is covered by animals. The largest mushroom forest, Chen Mo is the favorite to stay. Here, there are a few very interesting little points. Yeah, Miss Heisha exuded awareness. This is calling a big man. Her hair is getting more and more gorgeous. Yes, it can no longer be simply described as a flame, but really fluttering. Sometimes, you can't even tell whether it is a real flame or hair. Where do we need to drop bombs today? The voice of the chief also sounded. He jumped up and down excitedly. The matter of dropping mushroom bombs is currently his favorite thing to do besides fishing for bugs. After blowing up a cobra that was 100 times bigger than itself, it became obsessed with this behavior. So much fun. This is what the forest overlord, the chief, should do. Podgy. Roar opened his mouth hard and swallowed a passing ant. It accidentally discovered that the wood does not seem to be as delicious as the ants. The ants fled in panic. It didn't take long for the queen ant to emit anger. This queen ant is also very interesting. Its consciousness is also very strong. Although it is not worth mentioning in front of Chen Mo, it is much stronger than ordinary insects. And wisdom is also extraordinary. So Chen Mo also took care of it, and wanted to see how far it could develop. Chen Mo named him, Zerg Queen. Queen for short. The queen ruled the clan, with tens of millions of ants under her command, the nests were also getting bigger and bigger, and complex ant cities expanded underground. Naturally, she couldn't bear the provocation of a mere slug. Immediately we'll send troops to attack. But soon he was appeased by Chen Mo. Big man, my people are being slaughtered. As the queen, I must protect my people. The queen was outraged. There is no wisdom, just a tool. Chen Mo said lightly. This cross-species conversation is really a wonderful thing. Wisdom. The queen fell silent. What kind of thing is that? You have wisdom, and I have wisdom. Your people have no wisdom. Wisdom is creation and endowment. Chen Mo explained. You have wisdom, I don't. You created me, you gave me a name, am I your tool? The queen exudes disappointment and sadness. Chen Mo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Perhaps it is because the other party is a standard collective consciousness way of thinking, so this jump is really a bit fast. The queen's name was chosen by him, but such an awesome thing as giving wisdom is no different from creation, and he can't do this kind of thing. Creating species and endowing them with intelligence are things that only the creator can do. I haven't reached that level yet. Big man, you will get there, I believe in you. That's a good word from you. Ending the conversation, the queen fell silent. When she is unhappy, she is like this, silent, not speaking. Chen Mo knew that she must still insist that she was created by herself, and she was depressed why she denied it. But no matter how she thinks about it, she will definitely be happy again tomorrow. Chen Mo turned his attention to chariot again. This is the wild boar. Chen Mo used it very smoothly, so he used mycelium to dig out the bullets in the opponent's body, and the expansion of the mycelium was already overbearing, killing all the other bacteria in the wound. It is equivalent to disinfection in disguise. After the wound healed, Chen Mo tamed the wild boar. He was named Chariot. Click, click. The chief excitedly stood on top of the chariot. Let's go. Prepare to charge. Smash everything. Miss Heisei also jumped up and landed lightly on the back of the chariot. The chariot at this time is very different from the one a week ago. On its sides hung two large bags filled with mushrooms. Bags were obtained from abandoned construction sites. A lot of human stuff was discarded there, and it happens to be used by Chen Mo now. Since the forest was blocked, no one came in, at most there were helicopters watching from the sky. So Chen Mo immediately expanded, occupying the area around the construction site, and growing a lot of poisonous mushrooms on the road. The purpose is to prevent human beings from having plans to come in again. Order the chariot to cross the road and get into the forest on the other side, and the action begins. Chen Mo has collected almost all the biological species in the basin. Today's goal is a mountain peak. He heard from the chief yesterday that he saw a very huge bird in the sky, which was hovering over a mountain peak not far from the basin. It just so happened that Chen Mo's mushrooms also spread to this side. He observed carefully, and there really was a huge bird that seemed to build a nest on the top of the mountain. On the biggest tree, most likely the eagle's. Even, it may be a mutated eagle. Because its wingspan is too wide, very exaggerated, reaching almost 8 meters. 4 meters left and right. Imagine, this exaggeration is a bit outrageous. At the same time, Chen Mo also got information from Jingyu town. In the past few days, a huge eagle attacked the livestock in the town, and once almost took everyone away. The helicopters flying back and forth in the past few days are probably trying to shoot this eagle. But Chen Mo also wants to get the eagle. This kind of creature is rare around here, let alone mutated. If this opportunity is missed, Chen Mo may not have the opportunity to obtain the genetic map of the eagle for a long time. Look at your own evolutionary clues. Sensory organs again. Requires 100 carbon-based biological knowledge reserves, and 3 to 10 representative biological gene maps. He is still short of 10 points of knowledge, and he has obtained 2 biological gene maps, which are insects. The current research progress of the clues to the evolution of sensory organs is 30%, and the research progress of efficient absorption is 18%. Over the mountain, a small stream came into view. There are fish. The chief spread his wings and rushed over first. There is actually a small water pond here, and there are many small fish in it. The chief was envious, but in the end he didn't dare to rush into the water. Now its intelligence is not low, and it is afraid that there will be mutant creatures in it. Some mutant creatures are very cunning, and will hide in this seemingly harmless environment. However, as the big man arrived, it suddenly became eager to try and became bolder. Boom! The chariot directly blasted into the pool, but it was beyond Chen Mo's expectations, and after a long time, he didn't catch a single fish. Instead, it muddied the water. Seeing that there were no mutated creatures, the chief also rushed down. It blasted into the water like a fighter jet, and with its racial talent, it even caught a few fish. This made Chen Mo unhappy. I don't believe it, how many fish can't be caught? Simply arch the soil and build a small dam to cut off the water flow. Then drain the whole water tank directly. There are many creatures in a small pool. A few animals can't eat much, and what's more, there are only a few fish that can be eaten. The rest were planted with mushrooms. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of grass carp and obtained 10% of the genes of grass carp. You extracted usable genes from it, your gene structure was optimized, and your ability to adapt to the heavy rain environment was enhanced. Adaptability plus 0.1. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the loach, obtained 15% of the gene of the loach, you extracted usable genes from it, your gene structure was optimized, your cell repair ability was enhanced, and your adaptability was plus 0.1. Event: you absorbed crab flesh and blood, obtained 5% of crab genes, you extracted usable genes from it, your gene structure has been optimized, your metal gene secretion is more efficient, and can be mixed with calcium. Evolution clues: you have obtained 100% of the grass carp gene map, and new progress has been made in the research of sensory organs. The current research progress is 50%. A whole host of new events. This is the advantage of manipulating the chariot. Usually, Chen Mo has no chance to touch the creatures in the water. But with the help of the chariot, it's all the little things. However, this water pool is too small, except for the genetic map of grass carp, which is about to be collected, the rest are far behind. Chen Mo happened to be walking along the creek in the same direction. Not only could he rush to the eagle's nest, but he could also collect the genes of aquatic organisms along the way. In the distance, there was the sound of a helicopter. Chen Mo quickly released his consciousness and let everyone enter the forest. This animal combination is very strange, and it is somewhat troublesome for humans to see. The huge roar of the helicopter echoed over the entire forest. The huge steel body cast a shadow and passed over Chen Mo's head. It seems that humans have found the eagle first. Chen Mo couldn't help but feel pity. But not long after, Chen Mo saw the helicopter circling again, ready to go back. There was no sound of firing. Apparently the eagle was very smart, and had already run away when it heard the sound. Humanity returns in vain. However, when the helicopter passed under a cloud, in the clouds, a black shadow quickly fell. Chen Mo's eyes were fixed. It's an eagle. It didn't run away, but kept hiding in the clouds. Chirp! There was a loud cry. The eagle approached the helicopter in a blink of an eye. It stretched out its claws from the side, and grabbed it suddenly. The entire side door of the helicopter was scratched, and Chen Mo even saw blood fog rising. There seems to be some terrible power in the eagle's claws. The helicopter pilot was caught dead and began to lose control and roll over. Fall at last. Boom! The huge explosion, the flare, sparked a raging fire. But this eagle was not much better. After all, it was an animal. It didn't know the power of human machinery. When it leaned up, it was hit by the high-speed rotating propeller. Although this blow only hit a point, the terrifying propeller was like a blade, instantly drawing a huge wound on its chest. With a scream, the eagle flew back to the nest, slowly dragging its wound. At this time, Chen Mo was completely sure that this was the mutated eagle. And the racial talent also has extremely powerful attack power. Looking at the burning area, Chen Mo was slightly taken aback. Although it has long been known that human beings will face challenges sooner or later, they did not expect such challenges to come so soon. I guess humans don't realize it themselves, Chen Mo murmured. Otherwise, humans would not be so arrogant. Just send a helicopter to enter the forest and carry out the task of eliminating dangerous mutated creatures. But that's good too. In the future, when humans enter the forest, they should be more cautious, and even gradually stop entering the forest, especially here, which is nearly 100 kilometers away from Jingyu town, which is already inside the forest. But the mutated eagle is so cunning that it will take the initiative to attack humans. The military will definitely not spare it. At this moment, Chen Mo didn't dare to move forward any longer. Because, before long, the human army is coming. He can rush there ahead of time, but he may not be able to deal with the eagle immediately. If humans come while the eagle is being dealt with, it will add trouble. It's better to wait until the human mopping up. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, the eagle will not look like it will be caught without a fight, and what Chen Mo needs is only flesh and blood with genes. What kind of big bird is that? Miss Hesse asked curiously. She was curious, why is there a human in its belly? Miss Hesse's eyesight is excellent, so she also saw the details of the attack. It's a human machine, like you're on the back of a chariot. Chen Mo replied, keep catching fish. Walking along the creek all the way, you can find many crabs in the crevices of the stones. The crabs were hiding well, but this team was actually commanded by Chen Mo, who used to catch crabs a lot, so the crabs were unlucky and turned out one by one from under the rocks. Among them, Miss Hesse is the one who can claw crabs the most, faster than the chariot controlled by Chen Mo. It doesn't even need to turn over the stone, but directly pops out its sharp claws, and inserts it into the crack of the stone to catch the crab. Seeing this scene, the chief jumped up in a hurry. He got a stick and wanted to catch crabs, but the speed was too slow. By the time it finally succeeds, everyone has already left. After walking less than 500 meters, Chen Mo collected all the genes of crabs and, by the way, the genes of toads. Obtained the reward of carbon-based biological knowledge +2. What surprised Chen Mo even more was that, evolutionary clues, sensory organs, suggested that effective genetic data had been collected. Immediately afterwards, I encountered a pool of water, which was larger than the one just now. Chen Mo spent a lot of energy before draining the water. There are a lot of fish here, and several of them are very large. It has to be said that the changes in the world have really changed a lot. Even the most common fish have begun to increase in size, and some of these fish have begun to mutate gradually, and some of them have returned to their ancestors. Sharp fangs, exoskeleton in place of scales. Become extremely aggressive. Chen Mo was a little more careful this time and killed a big fish covered with fangs and bone spurs. Evolution clues: you have obtained the 100% gene map of the ancestral grass carp. By comparing it with the modern grass carp, you have learned the relevant knowledge about the evolution and elimination of neural genes, and the research on sensory organs has made significant progress. The current research progress is 90%. Unexpected surprise. Chen Mo couldn't help being happy. He didn't expect this strange fish to have such a big role. He's almost finished collecting evolutionary clues. If he's lucky, he may only need the last creature. At the same time, Chen Mo is also very emotional. The forest is becoming more and more dangerous, and all life is changing. Chen Mo doesn't understand biology, but he, who is in the forest every day, feels such obvious changes. For those who have never entered the forest, it must feel like an earth-shaking change. If you teleport a person into the forest suddenly, and then tell him that he has traveled to another world, there is a high probability that he will believe it. Aside, Miss Hesse, who was eating fish, sneezed. Boom! A ball of flames spewed out. Just spray it on the fish. Faintly, the fragrance floats. Chen Mo has no sense of smell, but he knows that it must be the fragrance. Because the chariot and the chief all threw away the fish in their hands, turned their heads, and looked at the fish at Miss Hesse's feet. Big man, I breathe fire again. Miss Hesse was a little panicked. It was even more exaggerated than the small flames that spewed out last time. This time it was directly a small fireball. This change made it a little unprepared. How did you spray it? Can you feel the source of that power? Will you be hungry? Chen Mo's eyes were fixed, and his attention was concentrated, carefully observing Miss Hesse. However, no abnormalities were found. The only change was that the hair on its body was redder, more like a burning flame, and it looked beautiful like a mythical creature. But Chen Mo knew that Miss Hesse was just a fox. She could get hurt and die. Apart from breathing fire, it is no different from other creatures. The chariot with no magic at the side can easily kill it. He also has part of Miss Hesse's gene on hand, which is the blood that he squeezed out, and Chen Mo collects some every few days. Through the genes, he can confirm that this is an out-and-out native species. I won't be hungry, I won't feel where the fire comes from. Miss Hasey is not yet able to accurately describe her own state. But Chen Mo already understood. Won't be hungry. This is already very telling. The temperature of this kind of flame is not low. When it is sprayed out, it will cook half of the fish in an instant, which must consume energy. Energy is conserved. It will not be born out of thin air, nor will it disappear out of thin air. Therefore, since Miss Hasey is not consumed and will not be hungry, it means that this flame has other sources of energy. What's even more amazing is that when this kind of flame is on Miss Hasey's body, it has no temperature, and only when it is ejected from her mouth, it has high temperature. It only takes 2 bites to sear the fish. It appears to be some strange function of psionic energy. How it works, Chen Mo is currently unknown. The mutated biological samples he obtained are too few to obtain more spiritual knowledge. But one thing is certain, this is not an exception. The eagle also has this ability, but it's expressed in a different way. This kind of power undoubtedly endowed mutant creatures with stronger power, and it was their main reliance against humans. After all, their genes haven't changed much, so the strength of their flesh and blood will naturally not change much. As far as that strength is concerned, no matter how much it takes, it's all food in front of the artillery. Unless they can evolve rapidly like Chen Mo, the daily changes in genes are much greater than tens of millions of years. At this time, there was a roar in the sky. Sure enough, not long after, 3 helicopters formed a battle formation and flew over quickly. They don't know the reason for the helicopter crash now, but they will be able to draw conclusions soon by checking the combat recorder or the crash wreckage. After dropping the investigators, the 3 helicopters killed the mountain like the eagle. And the eagle was also stubborn, and even forcibly flew up again. It still doesn't realize what kind of steel monster it is facing, and it cannot handle it at its current level of evolution. Chen Mo thought about reminding the eagle to let the opponent run away. After all, he is still very greedy for the eagle's genes. But the distance between the two was too far, and it was too late for him to remind. And it would also put the chief flying past in danger. So now he can only watch plays. As soon as the eagle rose, it was beaten to pieces by angry humans. The cannon on the helicopter can shoot through a steel plate of more than 10 millimeters, and the rocket can even blow up the tank. The newly evolved eagle has only a flesh and blood body, and it can penetrate several cannons with one shot. Evolution is not the ability of gods and ghosts, it still has to obey the laws of physics. Chen Mo was not surprised by this result. The moment the eagle was shattered, Chen Mo commanded the chief to take action. It is not difficult to get enough flesh and blood for such a big eagle. But as soon as Chen Mo moved, another scream came from the sky. 2 more eagles flew over. These 2 are twice as big as the one just now. It turned out that the one just now was just a cub. Eagles give birth to many babies, but usually only 1 to 2 can grow up. The only offspring was killed, and the 2 eagles went crazy. But it was useless. The helicopter turned its fuselage, a string of flames passed by, and the eagle with a wingspan of more than 10 meters was instantly torn to pieces. However, the other eagle accelerated suddenly and avoided the flames. In a blink of an eye, the eagle got into the clouds. Attack directly from above. It's the same way they hunt. Invisibly, this trick can completely restrain the helicopter. Vertical 90-degree attack, not to mention the helicopter attack. Even where the eagle is, you can't see it. There is also a blind spot for radar. This kind of adult eagle is very powerful, just like the one just now, with green lights flashing on its sharp claws, and it suddenly went around to the side to grab it, and the people inside exploded into a cloud of blood mist. It's extremely fast. As soon as he hit it, he jumped into the clouds immediately. Then came the second attack. Got it again. Soon, the eagle discovered the weakness of the helicopter, and had no power to resist the attack directly above. The third helicopter was completely panicked at this time. They immediately began to lower their altitude and make an emergency landing. The helicopter pilot reacted quickly, but it was too late. Chen Mo made a judgment. Because the eagle is no longer diving and attacking at all, it is directly hovering above the helicopter unscrupulously. Soon, another fire burst into the sky. 3 helicopters were destroyed. The ground in the area where the fierce battle was fought was already a sea of flames. The flames of the 3 helicopters slowly joined together, and the burning sky was all red. Chen Mo looked at the flames and was shocked. He knew that this was the turning point. An iconic event. An eagle actually killed 3 armed helicopters. The eagle has little advantage over the helicopter, but once it is approached, the helicopter lacks flexibility and is in a state of being slaughtered one-sidedly. With the racial talent inspired by psionic energy, the rest of the races, for the first time, can truly threaten the status of human beings. And this is just the beginning. I'm afraid that the further back, the more creatures will inspire their racial talents, and by that time, the advantages of human beings will be greatly weakened. It won't overwhelm humans, and humans will still have the upper hand. After all, it is not yet possible to see any species that can evolve to the point where it can resist nuclear bombs. But the forest will no longer be a place they can easily set foot in. Here, it will become another world, an independent kingdom. And this is what Chen Mo wants to see. Unlike human beings' systematic technology, no matter how intelligent other creatures are, they don't care about the mushrooms spreading on the ground. Even if animals occasionally find out that mushrooms will attack animals, it doesn't matter. I will soon be able to expand unscrupulously, Chen Mo murmured. After the eagle killed the helicopter, it screamed and flew towards the corpse of its companion. But it was futile, only large pieces of flesh and blood could be found. In the deep forest came the mournful cry of the eagle. Chen Mo is moving fast. The chariot moved on. The ground shook slightly. This eagle has a high degree of mutation, and the previous juvenile mutant eagle has a very different degree of mutation. If samples can be obtained and analyzed together, it may be possible to obtain spiritual knowledge. At present, the whole world is undergoing drastic changes due to psychic energy. The more you know about this kind of knowledge, the better you will be able to take the lead. The eagle stood in front of half of the corpse, and the screaming suddenly stopped. Because, it suddenly discovered that a strange fox, without making a sound, fell from the tree trunk and jumped to its side. The angry eagle uttered a low screech. There is a strong killing intent in it, and Miss Heisha can feel it without a big man translating it. Save some of your blood. Chen Mo exudes awareness. Communicate with giant eagles. This is a rare opportunity to get close to the eagles. Although there is an eagle's corpse on the ground, it is rare to meet a family with mutant creatures. The genetic map of this whole family is obviously of great research value. Hiss. The hook-like mouth of the eagle opened and roared. Go away, little thing. Denied Chen Mo's request. Chen Mo didn't care either. The opportunity had already been given to the other party. If he refused to shed some blood, he had to let him die. Miss Hess, breathe fire in his face. Chen Mo ordered. Miss Heisha quickly jumped in front of the eagle in an instant. Eagle felt the danger in an instant, but he obviously still didn't know how this little guy could hurt himself. Boom! A ball of fire spewed out from Miss Black Market's mouth. In an instant, a pair of eagle's eyes were directly burned. This blow was not fatal, but to the eagle, it was almost fatal. Miss Heisha has just completed the task here. The ground began to shake slightly. With a bang, a huge monster rushed out of the forest. The long-awaited chariot launched an attack. Although the eagle is huge, the eagle that lands is not as good as the chicken. Also, it weighs less than a chariot. The chariot made a savage collision, directly hitting the eagle, breaking 2 trees in a row before stopping. This attack can be said to have exhausted all its strength. The long fangs were also inserted into the eagle's chest. Fatal blow. Having done all this, it retreated quickly, avoiding the eagle's dying attack. At this time, there was another huge roar in the sky. This time, it was extremely dense. Humans are at it again. Sudden such a huge loss, it is unreasonable for them not to come to check. And this time, they already knew who the enemy was. Pack up the booty and let's go. Miss Heisha popped out her claws and slid gracefully. A large piece of meat was cut off. It weighs 50 or 60 catties. 2 pieces of meat, 1 piece for an eagle. All were hung in the basket on the back of the chariot. When he left, the chief didn't forget to drop a few mushrooms here. There is this flesh and blood, plus the blood left on the ground. Chen Mo is enough to acquire genes. Now he is in a hurry to go to the area near the top of the mountain to obtain the genes of the baby eagles. Not long after they left, humans arrived. Flocking helicopters. Because of the global changes, the military factory has long been fully activated. Just like preparing for war, a large number of war machines have been manufactured, not to mention that there have been accidents here, and many troops have been deployed. A group of soldiers in chemical protective suits descended from ropes one after another. They are the most elite special forces, accompanied by a biological expert. Seeing the two eagle corpses on the ground, everyone was taken aback. When you see a smooth and neat cut, someone has been here. The soldiers' eyes sharpened immediately. Click, click. Everyone raised their guns. Human traces found. Warning, human traces found. In an instant, all the helicopters scattered in the sky, and even the fighter jets were ordered to take off immediately. Captain, could it be that the monkey on the opposite side is making trouble? It's not far from the border here. As soon as this guess came out, everyone looked dignified. I think it's some kind of animal. Biologists scrutinized traces. Animal. Everyone was surprised. Can animals cause such wounds? But there are indeed no traces of humans around here. The captain frowned. In such an urgent situation, it is almost impossible for humans to hide the traces of their actions. At this time, the situation from the helicopter investigation also came back. Thermal imaging cameras showed that there were indeed no humans nearby. Strange, there are footprints of wild boars here. What about this one? It looks like a fox. Specialists start measuring the site. Hiss. A wild boar weighing at least 1,000 catties. This fox is much bigger than usual. Check it out. Everyone was even more shocked. This eagle was killed by a wild boar. Then the fox came and cut off 2 pieces of meat. This is outrageous, like a fairy tale, and how did the fox take away such a heavy amount of meat? The expert smiled helplessly and shook his head. He really doesn't know. The traces at the scene show that this is the truth. Everyone gathered around the wound to observe carefully. All of a sudden, I just felt cold. Even the sharpest knives they were equipped with could not cut such a smooth cut. I can't believe it was cut by a fox's paw. If that claw cuts itself, hiss. Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. Looking at the 2 broken trees at the mouth of the bowl, and looking at the big tree behind the eagle, there is a big hole in the trunk, which was knocked out by the wild boar's fangs. I felt like a tank was running over here. Leaving people's eyelids twitched. There are also colorful feathers here. A small patch, but still detected by careful scouts. When the experts saw it, they suddenly became even more strange. It's a woodpecker's feather. Foxes, wild boars, and woodpeckers, 3 unrelated species, unexpectedly appeared at the scene of the crime at the same time. Everyone was at a loss. The eagle's head still has burn marks. Experts are throwing out a surprising conclusion. Immediately, this incident was completely confused. Batch after batch of experts came, but no one could explain what was going on. Bring the sample and ask Professor Liu and other great experts to have a look at it when you go back. Eventually, all the soldiers got into the helicopter and left the forest. Sitting in the air, the captain of the special forces looked at the forest below, and couldn't help but fell into deep thought. What happened in the last 10 minutes after killing the eagles of the 3 helicopters? Boars, foxes, woodpeckers, dot and flames. He muttered to himself, secretly remembering this matter in his heart. He had a strange intuition that one day in the future, the truth of what happened here would be revealed. Looking at the misty forest, looming, there seems to be some kind of mystery brewing in it. Not long after everyone left, mushrooms began to grow, and mycelium began to spread among the flesh and blood. You absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated eagle and obtained 20% of the mutated eagle gene. You extracted a unique gene from it. After research, you optimized the pore structure on the spore, further improving the spore's floating performance. Allows spores to spread to farther areas, adaptability plus 0.1. Information through the comparison of the genetic map of the mutated eagle population. Your understanding of mutated creatures has deepened, your understanding of the genetic changes caused by psionic energy has deepened, and your knowledge of psionic functions and organic species has increased. Carbon-based creatures plus 2, psionic knowledge plus 1. Evolution clues, sensory organs. Based on the knowledge reserve of carbon-based organisms plus 100, you have analyzed a neuron structure based on the existing genetic data. The network structure built by this neuron will act on the cap, which can produce rough visual organs and activate this gene, can improve adaptability plus 0.9, danger level plus 0.1. Eyes have evolved. Chen Mo immediately switched perspectives to experience it. The result was blurry, and I could only see something close by, and a piece of mushroom in the distance. I can't tell what it is, I can only see something moving. These eyes are not eyes in the sense of animals, but a circle of sensory cells. Belongs to Chen Mo's mushroom form, uniquely evolved, eyes. This is for high myopia, but as a warning, it is completely sufficient. Chen Mo's own perspective is particularly clear. The mushroom's vision is somewhat redundant to him, but it is extremely useful as an early warning ability. For the first time, Chen Mo can collect visual information from all mushrooms at the same time. Every mushroom is equivalent to a radar station. In this way, he would be able to know immediately where there was any movement, instead of waiting for the rabbit to gnaw on the mushrooms for a long time before discovering it by accident. In the past, Chen Mo still needed to quickly switch perspectives to find animals. Although it was effortless, the efficiency was very low and troublesome. But now it's different. Once an animal enters the mushroom forest, he can immediately find that the efficiency of collecting genes has been greatly improved. Open black lens bracket race close black lens bracket, mutated mushroom. Evolution point 41. Gene bank mutant eagle 100%, grass carp 100%, crab 100%. Available genes hallucinogenic, corrupt, metal, cystic structure, toxin, nerve. Research bonus carbon-based organisms plus 102, psionic knowledge plus 3. Organ properties panel. Mutated mycelium, the nutrient absorption efficiency is 1.6. It can quickly absorb the organic matter in the ready-made decaying matter, obtain energy in matter, and the efficiency is extremely low. It can plunder genes through fresh cell tissue. Spores adaptability is 4.4, fragile seeds, but excellent dispersal ability enhances your survival rate. Cap after maturity, spores can be produced. The number of each batch is 3.5 minus 3.6 billion. The production cycle is 410 minutes per cycle, which requires a large amount of nutrients. Overall evaluation, the danger level is 2.3. You have exceeded the danger level of ordinary creatures by 2 points. You are developing towards an extremely dangerous creature. Your existence itself has affected the surrounding areas, and the impact on the ecological environment is gradually increasing. Appear. Evolution clue, efficient absorption, current progress 20.4%. Chen Mo looked at his attributes and was very refreshed. The hard work during this period has not been in vain. The evolution point has reached 41 points, and currently he does not have the ability to actively absorb psionic energy, all relying on the expansion of the number of mushrooms to absorb. Currently he can gain 3 evolution points every day. This value will increase as he expands. There is an endless supply of evolutionary points, but passive absorption is still not a thing. The amount is too small, and Chen Mo is not satisfied. He wants to study how to actively absorb it, but he has no clue yet. There are 6 types of available genes, and 6 branches appear on the corresponding evolutionary tree, among which the longest extension is corruption and hallucination. However, it is worth noting that the most robust evolutionary branch turned out to be nerves. After thinking about it for a while, Chen Mo realized that although nerves have just evolved, they obviously have a wealth of technical reserves and there is still a lot of room for improvement. This ability has great potential. After all, the most powerful group on this planet at present relies on these little things to master wisdom step by step. Wisdom is always the most powerful weapon. Chen Mo always firmly believes in this. As for his wisdom, Chen Mo is still very self-aware, definitely not the kind that is extremely smart. But with an evolutionary system, he is very confident, evolving step by step, his consciousness can become stronger. Besides, he can study more powerful organs. Just like humans, not enough brainpower. Computers come together. The firepower is not strong. Are you afraid of gunpowder and nuclear energy? His methods are becoming more and more diverse, and there are as many as 6 kinds of weapons that can be used in the gene pool. You must know that it is only a month since the world has changed. It took only 1 month to achieve the current results, and Chen Mo is very satisfied. Human beings have developed so many weapons, but it took tens of thousands of years of development. As for him, in just 1 month, weapons of mass destruction appeared, and his poisonous gas spores are no worse than human weapons. Hallucinogenic spores can affect people's mind unconsciously. And there is an unexpected magical effect, that is, after reducing the dose, it becomes extremely delicious and refreshing. This allowed the mushroom created by Chen Mo to successfully penetrate into human beings. Slowly, more and more people should eat it and expand the scale of cultivation. Evolving step by step, will weapons beyond nuclear bombs evolve in the future? Chen Mo couldn't help but imagine. Where is the limit of evolution? Is there an end? Genes, this mysterious field called God's Code. Chen Mo wants to bring out its full power. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but be eager to try. With 41 evolution points, many times of reorganization and evolution can be carried out. Hallucinogenic, corrupt, metallic, cystic, toxin, neurological. Chen Mo looked at each item. On average, how about the evolution of rain and dew evenly? Or should we focus on one priority first? Thinking about it, Chen Mo decided to take the lead in evolving corruption and focus on strengthening it. After all, the current strategy is low-key expansion. Among these genes, the ability to corrupt is the most conducive to expansion. The rest of the abilities are not to say that they are useless, but they will not be used so quickly. For example, metal, if it grows too strong, it doesn't make much sense to Chen Mo. At present, he is completely acceptable to being eaten by animals every day, or even trampled on apart. After all, the number of them is too large, and there are toxins, so it is enough to drive away some dangerous animals. The same is true for nerves and cystic structures. Enhancing these can be useful, but the effect is not immediate. Corruption is different. It can quickly secrete corrupt substances, decomposing various organic matter into nutrients that mycelium can absorb. In this way, only a little bit of conditions are needed to allow the spores to develop into hyphae, then the surrounding area can be quickly corrupted, and then a nutrient-rich area is formed. Not to mention the air temperature, at least the nutrition can definitely keep up. In disguise, the adaptability is greatly improved. Moreover, corruption can degenerate flesh and blood. Although the effect on living things is not good now, what if it continues to be enhanced? Chen Mo is also very curious about the final result of recombinant evolution. That being the case, then try it out. Warning: you are trying to use evolution points to recombine and evolve the corruption gene, which may increase the corruption ability of the decomposition enzyme 95% probability. It is worth noting that this operation may lead to unknown consequences 5% probability. Please choose carefully. Chen Mo invested 5 evolution points, and recombined and evolved the corruption type 3 feet gene. Continue. Corruption type 4 feet consumes 10 evolution points, and the probability of losing control has risen to 20%. If you continue, you need 20 evolution points, and the probability of losing control is as high as 40%. The probability of success or failure is almost 50-50. However, for Chen Mo, being out of control means that the result of recombination evolution is uncontrollable, and it does not cause any harm to him. His initial evolution was similar to a simulation. The successful genes are not used immediately, but are stored in the gene bank. Only with Chen Mo's permission can they be used on mushrooms. The only loss is evolution points. Give it a go and turn your bike into a motorcycle. Chen Mo made up his mind to continue reorganizing evolution and try his luck. Invest 20 evolution points and continue. Out of control warning. The corruption type 4 feet gene underwent recombination and evolution, and the evolutionary process was out of control. You obtained the corruption type 10 gene. With its support, the hyphae can quickly secrete corrupting substances, and the scope of application of corrupting substances has also been expanded. Even loose inorganic matter can be slowly corrupted. Chen Mo just said hello. Inorganic matter can be corrupted. Inorganic matter is the general term within soil, rock and metal. In other words, he has truly possessed the ability to eat dirt. Already have the same ability as plants. Isn't that part of the evolutionary clues that were absorbed efficiently completed in advance? Sure enough, just as Chen Mo thought of this, a message popped up. Evolution clue: you accidentally obtained the corruption type 10 gene map, and the research on efficient absorption has made new progress. The current research progress has reached 50%. More evolution clues have been obtained. Clues have been updated. Evolution clue: efficient absorption. Based on the existing genetic data, you have analyzed a possible evolutionary structure clue. This structure will improve and expand organs, further expand the range of nutrient intake, and have the ability to modify the local environment. It is expected to increase the adaptability by +10, the danger level +5. You need the knowledge reserve support of +1000 carbon-based organisms, supported by more powerful, toxin and metal genes. Pretty. Chen Mo couldn't help shouting. He has been thinking about efficient absorption, and now it has finally been officially put on the agenda. Originally, this evolutionary clue can only be officially opened when the carbon-based organisms are +500, but because of Chen Mo's gamble, he accidentally produced the corrupt X-type gene, and this gene happens to be the key to the study of efficient absorption. Therefore, Chen Mo, who obtained this key technology, immediately skipped the previous process and achieved a technological leap. It is not an exaggeration to say that it was a big bang. He currently only has 100 points of knowledge, which is already a field that can only be touched by 1000 points of knowledge. Chen Mo is very much looking forward to this. Evolution clues, efficient absorption, now, increasing adaptability +10, danger level +5, such an evaluation, how terrible is it? This evaluation is so high, I am afraid it comes from the ability to transform the local environment. After checking the properties, Chen Mo turned his gaze back to the mushroom forest. After careful management for so long, the entire basin has become Chen Mo's back garden. Yes, the back garden. Rather than hunting grounds. All the animals here have acquired genes, so there is an unusual harmony here. Mushrooms have also returned to their niche. However, some unique landscapes have been formed, such as the mushroom forest. This is a sight that would never have appeared in the forest before. There are more than 10 such mushroom forests in the basin. Different sizes and different shapes. Even if there are experts, they are not sure that this is a plant. But if Chen Mo doesn't hide it, if he carefully detects the genes, he will find that the genes of these mushrooms are all exactly the same. However, Chen Mo's genes are now extremely complex, beyond the detection ability of human beings. Even if Chen Mo asked them to test it, they would still be at a loss as to what it was. It's like code. If other people's code is written by programmers, and Chen Mo's, although it looks the same at first glance, in fact, there is another secret hidden under the way of arrangement. Like a gene lock, a large group of genes are mixed together. In the eyes of others, this is a mess of messy codes that cannot be solved. Unless Chen Mo is willing to take the initiative to show, otherwise no one can figure out his genes. Feel a little bit. Chen Mo found that his farthest mushroom was 200 kilometers away. Before he knew it, he had already moved away from the basin and expanded farther away. A little estimation, about 1 to 10 kilometers forward every day. This distance varies greatly, because where the spores fall, whether they can survive, and whether they are suitable for large-scale expansion, these all have a certain amount of luck. But no matter how lucky, this gradual spread is an inevitable process. After inspecting his own site, Chen Mo switched his view to Lu Ru's laboratory. This is the only place where he does not have evolved eyes, so he needs to actively switch perspectives. If eyes evolved here, it wouldn't scare humans to death. But as soon as Chen Mo switched over, he saw a beautiful scene. Good guy, Lu Ru was actually wrapped in a towel in the laboratory. Due to her rising status, the laboratory has also been changed. The current laboratory is specially configured by the school. Solicited Lu Ru's opinion, specially designed. There is only a flashing door between the laboratory and Lu Ru's bedroom. Yes, in order to conduct research better, Lu Ru even saved the time to go home, eating and lodging in the laboratory. Of course, Chen Mo's psychological hints are also indispensable. Lu Ru, who was taking a bath, suddenly had an inspiration, so she ran out wrapped in a bath towel. After all, the inspiration passed in a flash, and she had to record the idea immediately, a wonderful experimental design. Moreover, this laboratory belongs to her personal laboratory, the door is locked, and only she has the key. In fact, even if she doesn't wear clothes, it's okay to walk in it. She worked very seriously. Even though the bath towel fell slowly and fell on the ground, she didn't notice it. There are still playful drops of water on the skin. This is what it looks like just out of the shower. Chen Mo smiled and appreciated the beauty. This benefit is quite rare. But there's nothing he can do about it, it's pure admiration. This beautiful scene only lasted about 5 minutes. Until the far end of the corridor, the doorbell rang. Lu Ru stood up and turned on the camera to take a look, then pressed the switch to let the students outside come in. My student, Ali, has also worked hard recently, and Lu Ru appreciates her more. When Ali came in, she saw Lu Ru wrapped in a bathrobe, and her face turned red. Good evening, teacher, she said. In the past few nights, she will come to write papers. It is very quiet here, and if there is anything she does not understand, she can always ask the teacher for advice. Not long after sitting down, Ali smiled shyly. Teacher, you smell so good. The teacher actually has body odor. She had smelled a very faint smell in one of them before, but this time it became clear, and she immediately reflected it. It used to be more fragrant, but after I came to teach at the school, it became much weaker. Lu Ru smiled happily. The two had a good relationship, and Lu Ru also recorded the experimental plan, so it was rare to chat and relax. Chen Mo stared at the computer screen carefully, stealing human data, while paying attention to the conversation between the two women. Teacher, have you heard the rumors of psychers? In the recent period, miraculous events have occurred all over the world. Some people can be full of fire, some can have infinite strength, and some can control objects through the air. This video is now spread everywhere on the internet, and these people are collectively called psychers. It's not a rumor, it's true. Lu Ru said. This matter, in fact, is no longer a secret. Because there are too many, I can't cover them anymore. In fact, as a top scientist, she already knew the news, and even had many real test videos, and even went to a secret base in a few days to meet real psychers. Ding dong. Ali glanced at the phone, and immediately opened her mouth. Oceania has publicly acknowledged the existence of psychers, and announced the establishment of the Psychic Bureau to manage psychers. This should be the headlines. Ali clicked on the news software. As a result, the mouth opens wider. Teacher, look at this. Chen Mo also leaned over to take a look, and immediately smiled. The picture looks familiar. Lu Ru's face turned serious. So many people died. This news directly overwhelmed the announcement of the psyker and hit the headlines. Because the protagonist this time is a mutated monster that is more terrifying than a psyker. The military lost 4 armed helicopters in this operation. At present, the body of the eagle has been transported to the laboratory for research. Only traces of wild boars, foxes, and woodpeckers were found at the scene. Ali opened her small mouth and couldn't help but read out. This is too outrageous, right? Are they trying to say that the eagle that can defeat the helicopter was killed by several animals in partnership? Ali made a complaint, but inadvertently approached the truth. But the biggest murderer of this matter is at the side right now. Chen Mo couldn't help but praise this little girl, and then he was about to leave. Although watching 2 beautiful girls chatting was very interesting, he also had other things to do. Teacher, why did the fox cut up the eagle's meat? Ali looked at the various comments and conspiracy theories below, and suddenly she had a brain hole. Could it be that you can become stronger after eating, and embark on the path of cultivation? Or there are some mysterious killers like monster hunters who specialize in hunting psychic monsters and becoming stronger. How is it possible? Psionic energy doesn't come from this way. We already have some clues about the research on psionic energy, and we are currently working on a psionic energy detection device. Hearing this, Chen Mo stopped leaving in an instant. It is impossible for Chen Mo to monitor Lu Ru 24 hours a day, and it is impossible to check her memory directly, so there are some things that the other party has experienced, but Chen Mo is completely unaware of them. For example, this matter, the research of psionic detectors. As an expert in psionic energy in plants, Lu Ru must know more or less the inside story. Even, there may be a lot of information in this regard in the computer. Chen Mo was a little excited. He waited until Ali was gone, then 12 o'clock at night. Usually at this time Lu Ru would go to bed. With a glance, Chen Mo knew what she wanted to do. Sure enough, Lu Ru yawned. Today, inspiration exploded, and she suddenly devised a good plan, so she stretched happily, preparing to reward herself and go to bed early. Lean the mouse on the keyboard casually and turn off the computer. She was so sleepy, lying on the bed, and as soon as she closed her eyes, Lu Ru fell asleep. She likes to sleep naked, it's very warm and comfortable. Of course, Chen Mo likes it too. Chen Mo, who is sealed in the plant laboratory by a glass cover, naturally cannot release hallucinogenic spores, but it doesn't matter. As mushroom counts grow, rough brawn builds. With Chen Mo's powerful consciousness, he can talk to Lu Ru directly without being disturbed by the wall. Chen Mo will not reveal his existence. This kind of dialogue is carried out with hypnosis. This effect, manifested, is like sleepwalking. Lu Ru lifted the quilt and got up directly. She walked to the lab and turned on the computer. This computer is absolutely confidential and cannot be connected to the internet. But Chen Mo can check every night. Skillfully opening various files, Chen Mo soon found some new files. These are the confidential research materials copied from the CD. On it, Chen Mo discovered a new plan of humanity. Of course, it's more than that. In addition to this project, there are many unpublished papers, which are all academic communication documents. Through studying these papers, Chen Mo's spiritual knowledge unexpectedly increased. Information through the analysis of human psychic energy research data, your understanding of psychic energy has deepened, and you have a further understanding of the existence of psychic energy. Knowledge of psychic energy +1. Evolution clues, psionic organs. Based on the existing knowledge reserves, you have analyzed a possible evolutionary organ, which will provide a new perception mode, help spiritual energy absorption, and is expected to increase the adaptability by +0.5. You need the knowledge reserve of carbon-based creatures +200, and the support of psionic knowledge +10. Well, it's starting to pay off. Chen Mo smiled in satisfaction. When he first invested in Lu Ru, it was just a casual idea, but he didn't expect it to really play a huge role now. Even Chen Mo couldn't ignore this effect. After all, he only has 3 points of psionic knowledge now. If you come at night, you will get a little extra, which is simply beautiful. What's more, even if there is no harvest, it is very good to appreciate the spring scenery in front of you. After finishing this, Lu Ru sleepwalked back to her room, but instead of lying down to sleep, she turned on her laptop again. That's right, Chen Mo has to go online for a while. Take a look at the global situation, how humans react in general, and what changes psychics have brought about. Cases of mutated creatures attacking humans began to appear in many places, and the distribution was random. The worst case was a cruise ship that was directly hit and sunk by a huge shark. None of the thousands of people inside survived, and only about half of the bodies were found. Many countries have banned ships from going to sea. It seems that not only the forest, but also the ocean has gradually become a forbidden area for humans. All are playing grand city evacuation. What's more interesting is that some countries with weak governance have broken out into civil wars, and there are signs that some psychers are involved. Psychers may become more and more important in the future, but in a big country, it's impossible for psychers to shake the order. Chen Mo made a judgment. The terrifying power of the state apparatus cannot be resisted by just a few psychics, not to mention that many official organizations to absorb and recruit psychers have already begun to be established. After reading the news, Chen Mo looked through various forums, as well as nearby local news, and noticed a few places where there were sightings of mutated creatures, then cleared the browsing history and turned off the computer. Looking at Lu Ru, who was sleeping soundly, Chen Mo couldn't help but feel a little sleepy. Back in the mushroom forest, he also blocked most of his perception of the outside world, and fell into a deep sleep. As his consciousness grew, his sleep time became shorter and shorter. The last time he slept was 3 days ago. Tuck tuck tuck. With a familiar voice, the chief rang the alarm clock. The whole mushroom grove came alive. The entire mushroom forest is already used to this rapid and rhythmic sound. Good morning, big man. The queen exudes consciousness. She likes to imitate Chen Mo, including this way of greeting, and she also learned it together, and has developed the habit of saying hello every morning. Every morning when Miss Heisi wakes up, the first thing she does is comb her hair. However, this matter is becoming less and less necessary now, because with the emergence of racial talent, she has become stronger and stronger, and her hair is very smooth, and she is very beautiful without care. The chief, on the other hand, stood aside, looking at Miss Heisi eagerly. Look forward to having shiny hairs fall out. However, it again disappointed. Click, click, it jumped on the ground a little annoyed. Chen Mo couldn't help laughing when he saw this scene. The little guy collected less and less hair, from a handful at the beginning to one yesterday, and now there is no hair at all. Miss Heisha looked at the chief with disdain. Suddenly, the chief was furious. And its angry emotions were quickly perceived by the roar. Roaring immediately opened his mouth and roared wildly. It made a hissing sound, and its mouth was more than twice as big as its body. Not only that, but it also crawled towards Miss Heisha angrily. If the chief behind him hadn't stepped on its tail, it would have swallowed Miss Heisha in one gulp, depending on its momentum. Unexpectedly, it was too irritable, its body stretched very long, and with a bang, it actually pulled its tail out from the chief's feet. Then the whole body was ejected forward like a stretched rubber band. This terrifies Howler. It rubbed against the ground frantically, and finally stopped. Kankin stopped at Miss Heisha's feet. Bang! A claw popped out, sharp as a blade. What? Roar immediately retreated frantically, and with a whoosh, he hid behind the chief's paw. Chen Mo couldn't help laughing when he saw this scene. With the increase in wisdom, Roaring no longer chews without opening his mouth, but this habit has been preserved to a certain extent, and he has become very capable of fighting against others. The emergence of psychic power has made this world much more interesting. Even a small bug already possesses wisdom. There will only be more changes in the future. The mutation is still going on, and the changes in the world are probably just beginning. After all, even a worm has learned how to fight against others. Howling already has a level of intelligence close to that of cats and dogs. One can imagine what would happen to other mutated creatures, such as monkeys. It's time for me to continue to expand. Human beings will soon develop spiritual detectors, and I can't lag behind. Chen Mo has already understood some of the principles and theoretical basis for human beings to make psionic detectors, so genetic technology can be used to achieve similar functions. His eyes shifted to a mushroom community. Here is one of the places where Chen Mo obtained information last night. Located near a village, the population here has already moved out, but before that, there were multiple witnesses who proved that they saw a huge mutated creature. There is no video evidence, but this news has already been on the news, so it should not be false. Chen Mo's task is to confirm whether this creature really exists, and if so, it's best to contribute its own genes. He needs powerful mutant creatures with great changes to study psionic knowledge. It's better to be different from the original species, the difference is obvious enough. Chen Mo whispered, and the mushroom exploded. There is no one inhabited here, and Chen Mo can expand as much as possible. The human territory is shrinking, and all these isolated villages deep in the forest have been evacuated. If Jingyu Town hadn't set up an experimental base, the population there would have been evacuated as well. Boom, boom, the strange sound echoed around the village. Along with the banging, there was a strange hissing sound. The sound was like sulfuric acid corroding steel, or like countless ants gnawing at flesh and blood. The sound was very small, coming with the sound of the wind, sometimes there, sometimes not. In the village, a hunting dog suddenly stood up from the ground. The ears turned slightly. It looked at the entrance of the village warily. Something is approaching. Involuntarily, it made a low, threatening sound. Around, slowly more dogs gathered. The village was abandoned, but many of the village dogs did shed. In just 10 days, they have become wild. Dogs are pack animals, almost indistinguishable from wolves. One of the dogs who awakened his racial talent became the king of dogs. This is a wolfhound. A dozen dogs gathered together. However, they didn't feel safer. Instead, they all let out low growls, and their hair stood on end. Because that strange sound sounded from all directions. Boom, there was another muffled sound. The voice seemed to be in the village. Slowly, with a gust of wind blowing, slowly, a strange fog filled the air. Before long, the whole village was shrouded in mist. The dogs became more vigilant, but they could find no enemies. In other words, this kind of enemy is not what they thought. Slowly, mycelium began to spread on the abandoned dining table. The mycelium expands very slowly, but the place it crawls over starts to become dark and rotten, with various colorful and strange colors, rolling, bubbling, and wriggling on the walking path. If all this is seen by humans, it will be absolutely horrifying. Chen Mo himself was a little speechless after reading it. As long as he wanted, He could dress up the mushrooms beautifully, but he couldn't change the nature of this corruption. It looked like some terrible plague was spreading, leaving only corruption in its path. The dense hyphae squirmed, making it even more creepy. However, Chen Mo is very satisfied with this test. The corrupted X-type is powerful enough and the effect is amazing. In the village, apart from glass and a few metals, he can almost corrupt. Of course, it is best to have a ready-made organic matter as the foundation, so that it can grow fast enough. After all, relying on the little nutrients in the spores to grow hyphae and secrete corrupt substances, this consumes too much, and it is difficult to control. So spores falling directly on bricks, or dry wood, are totally unacceptable. In addition to the initial nutrients, there is also water. These two are the most important. With all these in place, Chen Mo can start thinking about the dry wood and sand, slowly decaying, and transforming them into nutrients. Chen Mo looked at the hissing, spore-filled village, and made some calculations. He corrupted and occupied the entire village, and it would only take 2 days at most. The first batch of spores grow on the first day, and the number will not be many. But once these batches of spores mature, the entire village will be corrupted the next day. Moreover, abandoned houses, which do not receive sunlight and are dark and humid, are excellent growing places. Mushrooms can reproduce very quickly in it. Did you see a strong guy? The hyphae spread to the table and met the Dog King's sight. The Dog King instinctively wanted to bark his teeth, exuding a vicious aura. But following human habits for a long time, let him know what a good dog is. So, it suppressed the instinct of the beast, and immediately replied. There is a very big snake that often hides in the forest and attacks us. Serpent. That could very well be this guy. Snakes often don't move for a long time, no wonder Chen Mo went around and couldn't find them. This guy is probably hiding somewhere to sleep when he is full. At the edge of the forest, a convoy is advancing. A military-wheeled armored vehicle opened the way at the front. The goal of their advance was the abandoned village. Captain, you said it's only been a few days, and the road is almost gone. Some soldiers were very surprised. It's not bad. It's a concrete road. The other teams are miserable. We don't need an excavator to follow. The captain smiled. Their team was lucky. The mission they won was not far away, and the road wasn't too difficult. Captain, do you think we can catch that snake? A member of the team asked. Can it depend on luck and try our best? Didn't we bring 7 days' rations? If we can't catch them within 7 days, then we will go back. The captain said lightly. It's almost here. Check the equipment, keep in touch with the outside world at any time, and check the guys, and get some game later. Now that the control has been relaxed, whether you can catch the prey depends entirely on your ability. And hitting some prey can also be used to trap that big snake. Soon, everyone arrived at the village. There are a lot of mushrooms growing in it. Can't kill poisonous mushrooms. What happened last time had already spread throughout the army, so everyone's first reaction was to stop. Knowing that they saw the grinning dog inside, everyone was relieved. Good guy, there are so many dogs in this village. Seeing a group of dogs approaching with their tails wagging vigorously, everyone hissed a few times and drove the dogs away. After all, everything is mutating now, and the above has already stipulated that contact with unknown creatures is not allowed. Not even ones that look harmless. Let's go away, or you will be roasted and eaten. The captain clicked and pulled the bolt of the gun. Immediately, all the dogs ran away in fright. These dogs really got smarter. Seeing this scene, the captain couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly, and wanted to shoot. But finally gave up. Not bad for these dogs. Anyway, it is still a species with good intentions towards human beings. For the rest of the categories, it's hard to say. The world has changed a lot, and it's getting more and more difficult. I heard that some countries have turned into hell on earth. It's true. I have a relative who is in a foreign country. Now the plane is cut off. The last time I called and cried for help, I have completely lost contact. Don't worry, we can't mess this up, but everyone has to work harder, make contributions, and try to catch this mutated snake back. The captain calmly cheered everyone up, and at the same time issued a search order. TZ, you 5 search this side, and I search this side. Captain Liu, what about me? Aside, a soldier asked. A trace of envy flashed in Lu Dui's eyes, and he said with a smile. Didn't you have a task arranged by an expert? Just try to practice here. You can do the spiritual things, as for the others. Team Lu patted his gun, I'll do it. Although the psyker has just been announced, in fact, such news in the military has already spread overwhelmingly. Many psykers were absorbed into the army, and the psykers in their own army have been given special care. At the first time, they were concentrated and studied, and then they were exercised in batches. His team is equipped with a psychic. This psychic was originally just a small soldier, and his level is far inferior to him. What's more, this is an elite special force. Ordinary soldiers don't even hear it, here. But because of his identity as a psyker, the opponent leapt over the Dragon's Gate and directly entered their team, and also had a special task assigned by their superiors. Strictly speaking, the other party was just following them to perform missions. After seeing the other party's strength on the road, Team Lu didn't dare to control the other party. The opponent's ability is really amazing, and their physical fitness is even better than theirs. This is so outrageous. It makes people envious. It's strange, why do these dogs walk around the mushrooms? Everyone in the special forces was keenly observant. Before the search started, everyone discovered the problem. Not only that, you see that the mushroom is too fierce, it grows on the legs of the table and on the door. The captain thought for a while, then ordered his subordinates to collect some mushrooms and put them into the sample bags that had been prepared earlier. In addition to catching big snakes, they also have the task of collecting various mutant creatures. After doing this, the captain had another idea, so he hooked his fingers, and soon, the dogs would come over, wagging their tails one after another, and hurried over. This is human. They are free and easy in this village. At first they felt very happy, but slowly, they felt a little flustered, especially now. There are terrifying big snakes outside the village, and there is also some kind of horror in the village that they cannot understand. Monster. The monster's voice will still ring in their brains. At this time, they really want to follow humans as before. Hee, why are these dogs so cute? Didn't it mean that animals with supernatural powers are all bloated? You don't want to go back to the city with us, do you? Could the captain find a way to communicate with Guzi? The soldiers talked one after another. Suddenly, when a group of dogs passed by the mushroom, they were suddenly frightened, whimpered and tucked their tails, turned their heads and disappeared into the alley in the village. Chen Mo doesn't allow these dogs to have any further contact with humans. Although there is a language barrier, Chen Mo can't guarantee that if the captain has any tricks to show off. So he sent out the idea of killing the dogs, and the dogs immediately ran away in fright, not daring to join humans anymore. In the team, everyone is naturally at a loss. No matter how much they thought about it, they would never have thought that it was the unremarkable mushrooms on the side of the road that scared the dogs away. But this little accident certainly won't scare many soldiers. They raised their vigilance and set up camp in this village after searching and confirming safety. Then set a trap and wait for the mutated animal to fall into the trap. Chen Mo searched for the trace of the big snake in the forest before, but he sensed the movement here immediately. He switched his gaze, just in time to hear the conversation between the captain and the psyker just now. So he laughed. I was worried that I couldn't find a psyker, but I didn't expect one to come from the human side. Delivered to your door. There seem to be many types of human psykers, and their powers vary widely. If you want to study psychics, psykers are an excellent research object. Chen Mo began to prepare the needed props. Normally, mushrooms create harmless spore dust by default. Under the control of Chen Mo, some special effects of spore dust will start to be produced. This time, it takes 410 minutes. While Chen Mo was waiting, the other party had already set up a tent and was surrounded by vehicles, which was quite safe. Of course, there are more than a dozen dogs living in this village, which can more or less provide some warning. Since the last incident, human soldiers have become more vigilant. But no matter how vigilant he was, Chen Mo could see him clearly. I hope to catch the big snake when I get up tomorrow. I hope so. The bait won't be eaten by the dogs, will it? A soldier suddenly said. After all, the dog is so smart now that no one knows it, maybe the trap will be empty tomorrow. Listening to the conversation of several people, Chen Mo was speechless. They obviously haven't figured out how smart that snake is. At this moment, the snake ignored the trap and came quietly into the village. Obviously, it is hard to say who is the prey and who is the hunter. But Chen Mo was very happy. This snake didn't like to be active during the day. At night, its eyes were like a pair of blood-red lanterns. It was attracted by the heat from the fires in the village. The heat here is in its line of sight, extremely bright. Some snakes have very strange eyesight, with a pair of eyes that act like thermal imaging cameras, with infrared vision. Through the wall in the car, it also saw the heat here. It also knows the position of human beings at night. Chen Mo sensed the consciousness emanating from the snake, and found that the snake was planning to swallow it alive. Leave nothing behind. This obviously won't work. At least, that psyker, Chen Mo also needs it. He immediately had a thought. A mushroom exploded directly. Boom. Ordinary sporangia, no harm. But the sound was enough to remind. What sound? Immediately, everyone grabbed their weapons instinctively. As expected of the team that came out to carry out this kind of mission, they were all elite. After they barked, they interpreted it as dogs or something, but began to fight in battle formation. However, this is obviously not enough. In particular, they did not expect that this was completely different from the information provided by the villagers before. This snake has reached terror. Everyone was vigilant whether the snake came from the gap surrounded by the car, and there was indeed a black shadow flashing on the roof of the car. Flames spit out. The sudden attack was still discovered by the psyker. His reaction was extremely quick. A few blood flowers appeared on the giant snake's head, and it immediately shrank back. Such a terrifying and frightening scene, everyone was so frightened that their hands and feet went limp. The soldier who was attacked turned even paler, and with a bang, he sat down on the ground. He only felt a gust of wind hit him just now, a pair of blood-red eyes the size of lanterns. At this moment, the whole person is limp on the ground. Tisk tisk. The psyker is not bad. Chen Mo sighed, but did not continue to remind these people. Instead, the two sides fight. In the unnoticed dark corner, mycelium has spread to the blood of the giant snake. Event: you absorbed the blood of the mutated python, obtained 15% of the mutated python's genes, you extracted the usable genes from it, you integrated these genes into your own genetic map, your vision was partially enhanced, and you have some infrared vision. While Chen Mo was controlling the mycelium, he also happened to have an intuitive look at the combat power of the psyker. How powerful is this mutated boa constrictor? Humans have brought heavy weapons, rocket launchers, or heavy machine guns on armored vehicles. This snake also took advantage of a sneak attack. When the two sides met for the first time, the big snake spilled some blood, but this actually aroused its ferocity. Instead of leaving, it started to walk around in the surrounding darkness, looking for opportunities to attack. But it obviously didn't suffer from human beings, and it didn't succeed in a blow, so it didn't even leave. Sure enough, the human side reacted immediately. Some people got into the armored vehicle, and some people dragged out the rocket launcher. This thing can be hit by a tank, and with armor-piercing bullets, it can punch a giant snake from head to tail. In life-threatening situations, no one considered the integrity of the prey anymore. It's important to save your life. So the fierce firepower greeted the big snake. The wheeled armored vehicle that moved first made a sharp turn and pulled out of the angle, and someone on it fired with a heavy machine gun. Immediately, the giant snake was swept through the bleeding hole. One by one, blood holes the size of a human head. However, the giant mutated python reacted very quickly, and was not hit. After taking a few shots, it knocked down the wall and moved into the village. In such a situation, heavy weapons are useless at all. It is narrow enough for armored vehicles to drive through, and there are walls everywhere that can be used as rock masses. At this level, although humans have the upper hand, they have no way to do further damage. The mutated boa constrictor will also know that it is afraid and wants to escape. Its body is covered with spore powder. It didn't even need Chen Mo to do it deliberately, its own huge body crushed a lot of mushrooms. The adaptability of today's spore powder has increased a lot, plus powerful and corrosive genes. Chen Mo controlled the spores and began to germinate. This time it was exceptionally smooth. Even Chen Mo didn't need to intentionally control the spores and create corrupt substances. Usually the spores have just germinated and are extremely weak, because the nutrients they carry are very limited, so they must produce a little mycelium, and then rely on this mycelium to produce nutrients. If the mycelium needs to secrete corrupt substances to produce nutrients, then things will be extremely difficult. At this time, the environment is a little bit bad, resulting in slow growth or lack of absorption of nutrients, then it is over. But this time, the surrounding mushrooms produced a lot of rotten substances. When the mutated giant python ran away in a panic, there was not a lot of rotten substances rubbed on the wound. But it doesn't feel itself, because the severe pain of the bullet covered up the pain of rotting flesh and blood. But it didn't take long for the python to feel no pain anymore. It also exudes a sense of extreme comfort, which is only produced when it is full. Its wound began to squirm, and there was a white filamentous substance, and then the bullet inside was slowly squeezed out. There are a lot of hallucinogenic substances being produced in an endless stream. Not only that, but Shenmue also absorbed 0.1 evolution points. Yes, the giant python itself absorbed a lot of psionic energy unintentionally, and Shenmue was able to extract evolution points from it. Mutated species, it seems that it would be a pity if they were just killed. Shenmue couldn't help but think of the first mutant creature he killed, a silver one. That time he gained a lot of evolution points. If you kill this giant python, you will definitely get more. But if you can get it continuously, wouldn't that be treating the other party as an organ that absorbs psionic energy? This can take some time to test. Shenmue made a plan, and it was no loss for him anyway. It just takes some time. But now, time is on his side. Every day, his size is getting bigger and bigger, and his evolution points and various genes are also flowing in endlessly every day. On the other side, many soldiers are still in the residual panic. The scene just now was so intense that no one could sleep or dare to sleep. If such a giant python is swallowed, it will really be a matter of one mouthful. God, such a big python. It's more than 10 times bigger than the information. Let the other party run away. The captain shouted angrily. The night was getting darker, and all the soldiers crowded into the car to be vigilant. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe my channel.